I'll share some unwashed check. I don't wash flies.
Okay, the July 14th meeting of the Town of Rochester Planning Board is called to order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, if you can't, don't worry about it. Alright, don't worry about it. We're trying to get there. Alright. Yeah. Secretary, read the roll call.
Absolutely. Chair Rick Jones.
Here.
Member Mr. Nelson.
He's gonna be late. He'll be here, but he'll be a little bit late.
Perfect. Member Zorian Pinsky.
Here.
Member Helena Duda.
Here.
Member Dave Roberts.
Yeah.
Member Jennifer Farmo. Here. Member Hans Fitchers.
Here. And let's note that planner Church is here, attorney Gordon is here, and our engineer Greg Bowman is here.
Great.
Okay. Alrighty, so just change to the agenda, two projects are taking a pass. I don't know why, last time we had so much fun being here at midnight. So Rav Tav will not be here. They don't have anything new to tell us, so they'll be here on the 28th. And also Glasgow, which is on the second page, Adam and Christina Glasgow. They won't be here, they'll be on the 25th also. Mary? What I want to do is just update you on Ridgeview, the project known as Ridgeview. They withdrew their application. I did send a note out to everybody. But I just want to remind everybody, right after our last meeting on the 23rd, they withdrew their application. And I sent them a letter saying, fine. I believe they'll be back in September, once whatever they're doing right now is over. And they come back to reinstitute their application. So what I want to do is to create a resolution doing two things. One, accepting their withdrawal of their application, number one. The second thing is acknowledging that their public hearing opened on the 23rd, June 23rd, and they withdrew on July 1st. So there's some, I'll call it clock on their public hearing, but we'll suspend the project and the public hearing as of July 1st. So from July 23rd to July 1st, for purposes of calculating whatever claims might be involved when we get deep into the public hearing. So that's the second thing. And then just an acknowledgement that if they come back, whenever they want to come back, they need to bring all the things that we have asked for in the past, which are legion, includes the safety plan, includes information about the water, the water fixtures, all those things we talked about, that'll be part of the ability for them to get back on the agenda. So with those three things, I just like, and I'll word a resolution and send it to them, but if I can just have a vote to.
Are they withdrawing their application or are they suspending it?
Yeah, that's all.
Suspending it, not withdrawing. If I use withdraw, it was incorrect, suspend. Yep. So if I can have a motion to send a letter to them of that sort, Hans? I'll say. David, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So 6 and 1 absent. Okay, thank you. We have the minutes from the meeting of the 23rd. They're in the package in front of you. We're not going to go through them today, but you just got them today. So they'll be on the agenda for the 28th to give you an opportunity to go through them. So we'll attempt to get these things done a little bit quicker, but it's there. I think it's the top item in the books that Roman set up with. So it'll be on the formal agenda of the 28th to approve those minutes. Hans, if you remember last time on the 23rd, we voted on making some recommendations to the town board regarding the alternate member.
Yes.
So Hans did send out that resolution and those potential changes to the town board. I think it went out yesterday or.
I said it today. Sorry.
Okay, so that is done. And then the some of you were aware of, I had a meeting with the town board on Friday, along with Dave Church and member Nelson. It was Aaron and Mike Coleman, who's, I guess, the deputy supervisor. And anyway, it was prompted by some activity at a previous town board meeting that you all viewed on the on YouTube. And we had a very good meeting. We broke bread. We accomplished quite a bit, and it's my belief that the supervisor is going to be just summarizing the results and writing a letter to each one of the members of the planning board, explaining the faux pas that occurred on in their meeting of June 26th, and we'll leave it at that. So I was very happy with the results of the meeting.
Good.
Okay.
That's great.
All righty. First on the agenda, Dor Hellett and his wife, Sierra.
Sorry, housing meeting? There's an agenda point, housing meeting? Housing meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jennifer is attending, I think along with Dave Church, I'm not sure. The town is calling a meeting of the housing committee to get input on the housing laws that they want to put into place, housing code to prompt more affordable housing. So they asked for a representative of the town, the planning board. So Jennifer volunteered, or I volunteered Jennifer, we did it the only way. So she was volunteered and she'll be going to the meeting. It's next Tuesday, the 22nd. And other than that, we don't have any more information about the purpose of it. But I believe one of the purposes might be to set some sort of a overlay zone for housing that would enhance the ability to get through the process of developing housing, affordable housing. So that's what that refers to. Thank you. I skipped that. Okay, Dora and Sierra, sorry, you could have sat there. Okay, so they were supposed to be here for a public hearing. Public hearing notice did not get out in the proper fashion. So aside from one or two other things we're going to do before we forget, I'd like a resolution from this board to reset the public hearing for Dor Hellett and Sierra Powell's project, the bread store for occupation, home occupation. So a resolution to set the public hearing for July 28th, which would be the next meeting. Jennifer makes the motion.
Second.
Second by Zorian. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So 6 ayes, 1 absence. And so the proper notifications will get out. But what we can do today is if you have any updates for us, and I also want to do the waiver. You had requested a waiver, and we never did get to that. In the Google Drive, there's a, under the project, under the category called waiver, there's a request for a waiver for the provision in the code requiring that the parking lot be made of or finished with asphalt. And Mr. Howard is asking for a waiver from that provision. I give you all a chance, including myself, to bring that up on your computer.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
What is the speed limit there on 209?
Sorry.
So my only question is if there's a safety issue with making a turn on the gravel off the asphalt, if it's speed.
The turn will be onto asphalt.
Yeah.
Expansion of on the.
So it's parking only, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So the roundabout is going to be asphalt.
It
It is asphalt.
is asphalt. The expansion wouldn't be asphalt, but you wouldn't be turning directly on.
Right. And then for the parking area, you want to keep that as gravel.
Yeah.
Okay, so the waiver is, I would like to request from the planning board a modification to zoning code 140-17 regarding parking standards for new applications, which allows the use of existing services for parking to reduce stormwater impact according to Article G in that section. And then it goes on to give a rationale for that, and continue to allow for the percolation of water. So is there any discussion? on the board?
We don't make deck for this?
Yes. No, I'm sorry, we didn't do the impact. We didn't have the public hearing yet. No,
We don't grant the waiver until we do the make deck,
why?
because it's an action. Why would you?
I think it's time too.
Is it?
Yeah, because you're no new building, right? No. You're using an existing building under whatever that threshold is.
Okay,
All
go
right,
for it.
thank you. All right, any discussion? Thank you, Dave.
Help with the square footage. Like,
Anybody want to make the motion to accept the request for a waiver from section 140-17, Article J, bonds?
a second.
Melina, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Peter, are you and I?
Yeah, I read
Okay.
it, so.
So 7-0. So you got your waiver. Anything else? And I apologize for not being able to do the public hearing tonight, but we'll
We
get
had
to
the
this.
site visit that was successful. And you mentioned that Ulster County didn't have any comments about the
Right,
project.
thank you.
So, yeah, I think that's the only update since 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so we had the county had their meeting on July 2nd, the Ulster County Planning Board, and they came back with no county impact, so. And those are really that was the only remaining thing except for the public hearing. Does the board, anybody who did the site visit, does anybody have any comments or questions of the applicant? No?
No, it was a great visit. Thank you for letting us know. It's good to.
It's an exciting thing.
Yeah.
So
It was also I thought it was very educational on how you constructed the oven and.
Yeah, we'll be happy to show customers that,
I think that really adds kind of to the experience when you show the oven that it comes from and stuff. It's a really cool thing.
It was educational for me when I went there. It was incredible.
COB, yeah.
Okay.
And that technology you were telling me goes back 2,500 years
Yeah.
at least. Great. All right. Anything else on the board? Okay, you got it done for tonight. Again, apologies for the public hearing, but we'll see you on the 28th for the public hearing. Okay, thank you, Dora. Thank you,
Thank you.
Sarah. All right, the next project is Accord Social. Philip, Michelle, and Wesley.
I was gonna say, you forgot my name.
Senior moment. All right, so. We're at the decision point with this project. All the paperwork has been done, all of the things we've asked the applicant to do have been accomplished. The project was typed, the project was neg deck the last meeting of the 23rd. We closed the public hearing at that time. And over the weekend, Dave Church and I collaborated, mostly Dave, but collaborated on putting together the decision. It's 10 pages. Not quite the record, but close to it. So
Four are a list of documents.
yeah, most of the pages are page 2, 3, 4 are a list of all the documents that were received with regards to the project. And by the way, at the public hearing, we did have 2 comments from the public that were positive. All right. So what I'm going to do is, what I usually do is to go through the pro forma items and get to the findings. And I think it's important we go through the findings one by one to make sure everybody is aware of those findings. So the project is known as Accord Social. And it's a proposed restaurant and tavern in the business zoning district fronting Route 209 at 4977 Route 209. The EAF was done properly, it was filed, it was seeker, we did seeker properly, we neg decked the project. opened the public hearing, closed the public hearing in the months of June and July. And I'm gonna fast forward to page 5. Notice of public hearing. The public hearing was opened, as it says here, on the June 23rd, and it was closed on. I'm sorry, it was open on the 23rd. It was also closed because we had no public comment except for positive feedback. So it was open and closed on the same day. The findings. I'm going to go through each one of these because I think they're important. The planning board received a zoning permit determination and referral from the CEO dated October 15th, 2025. Parcel is approximately 1.8 acres and is in the business zoning district, as well as the aquifer protection overlay zone.
Excuse me.
Going to call.
There's a typo in item 1 dated 10/15/2025. It should be 2024.
24. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave, can you make these as we go along
I
or?
can.
Okay. So if you could do that, then just tell me to stop if I'm getting ahead of you. Number 3, the applicant has met with the planning board in 6 meetings to discuss a variety of different items. Site plan and supporting documentation was revised and updated in response to this discussion. With public notice, the planning board opened the public hearing for this application on June 23rd, 2025. 2 comments were received, both in support of the application. Number 5, planning board declared itself lead agency as per New York State SECR and determined this action to be a type 1, given it meets the criteria in Town Zoning Code 140-5.1, Section A3B, regarding a proposed commercial use with projected groundwater withdrawals and/or on-site sewage disposal flows over 1,000 gallons per day in the aquifer protection overlay zone. The planning board initiated coordinated review and received no comments from other interested or involved agencies. At the June 23rd, 2025 meeting, the planning board reviewed the full EAF parts 1, 2, and 3 and made a negative declaration that this application as an action subject to SECR will not have any significant potential adverse environmental impact. This decision was posted in the New York State DEC Environmental Notice Bulletin. Number 6, application was referred for comment to the Ulster County Planning Board. Said board returned recommendations memo dated May 7, 2025. Recommendations included 4 required modifications, including a requirement for New York State DOT work permit, requirement for approvals for septic and food services permit from Ulster County Department of Health, exploration by the applicant to incorporate rooftop solar and use of heat pumps in the project, and submission of updated photo simulations. The Town of Rochester Planning Board discussed these recommendations with the applicant and confirms that the first 3 of the 4 recommendations have been met or will be met. The 4th recommendation for updated photo simulations is viewed as unnecessary, given the extent of building elevations, existing drawings and graphics and photos already received. Therefore, with this decision, the Town of Rochester Planning Board agrees 3 of the 4 recommendations have been met, and the 4th recommendation will be overridden by said board. And remember, to override, we have to have a supermajority vote. Number 7, applicant has coordinated with the New York State Department of Transportation relevant to access and work permits for frontage along New York State Route 209. 8, applicant has coordinated with Ulster County Health Department regarding a set of permits needed to construct a new septic system and to operate a new restaurant. 9, applicant provided the planning board with the 3 necessary studies, each professionally prepared, consistent with town code requirements, and each reviewed by the town engineer and/or planner and the planning board, and each with supplemental comments and revisions provided. These 3 studies were traffic impact study, a SWIP, better known as a stormwater pollution prevention plan, and a hydrological study. The hydrological study, by the way, was required because it was a type 1 and it was in the aquifer protection zone. Specific documents associated with these studies are listed above. Each study confirmed that the proposed application will meet performance standards set by the town code for the commercial use proposed, and that the application is not expected to pose any potential for significant adverse environmental impacts associated with traffic, groundwater quality and quantity, or stormwater erosion. 10, during the public hearing, public comments were received. The comments received were positive and in support of the application. All pertinent conditions required as per town codes have been met by the applicant. The findings were prepared by the chairman and/or town planner, were read and discussed as needed by the planning board in a public meeting at the time and place of adoption. Now resolved. Well, let me hold there since we went through a lot. Does anybody have any comments they want to make on those findings or adjustments? Okay. Now resolved, the town of Rochester Planning Board hereby grants site plan final approval permitting the construction of a restaurant and tavern in the town of Rochester pursuant to a proposed site plan dated July 14th, 2025, subject to these general and specific conditions of approval. So I'm going to read the conditions of approval. The general conditions. No, I'm not going to read them. These are standard. You can quickly course through them. These are the ones that we use every meeting.
Don't forget that.
No, we don't do that now. Thanks. Specific conditions of approval. 1, the subject uses shall comply at all times with town code 140-20H relating to illumination of the property and off-property impacts. 2, applicant has agreed that hours of operation for the proposed use shall be 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Mondays and Thursdays, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Fridays, and 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Saturdays, and 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sundays. Outdoor amplified music is prohibited. 4, after review of the Ulster County Planning Board Recommendations Memo referral number 2025-053, the town of Rochester Planning Board finds that 3 of the 4 required modifications have been met as described above in the findings. However, a 4th required modification for updated photo simulations is deemed unnecessary given the extent of graphics already provided by the applicant. This required modification of additional photo simulations is hereby overridden by this decision. This final action will be reported back by the town to the Ulster County Planning Board. 5, applicant requested in writing a waiver for certain provisions of the town code requirements relevant to lighting and landscaping. Specifically, so change that, Dave, from specially to specifically. A request to vary from the requirement to turn off all outside lights after hours of operation and to dim said lights to no less than 50%, to allow the function of security cameras. Second, to remove up to 5 trees due to parking layout constraints, to vary from the 3-inch caliber requirement for new shade trees, to vary from the 18 to 24-foot height requirement for new shrubs, to vary from the 20-foot buffer screening along the residential lot line as site is located in the mixed-use business district, to vary from the requirement of landscape division for parking rows to be replaced by landscaping behind the row of parking proposed, and to vary from the requirement for the dumpster in the rear yard with alternative to enclose the dumpster and locate it as far to the rear of the property as possible, given what else is existing on the property. At the March 10th, 2025 meeting, the planning board granted these waivers by a vote of the board.
I have a typo. It says 18 to 24 feet.
Yeah, it should be inches.
Inches.
That makes sense. You would definitely ask for a waiver of that.
Right.
Thank you. Number 6, anything else? Number 6, applicant requested in writing a waiver from certain parking standards of the town zoning code to size 48 parking spaces to 9 by 18 feet and 7 compact parking spaces to 8 by 18 feet. And requested a reduction to 22 feet wide of a single parking aisle closest to the proposed new building. Applicant also requested in writing authorization for the applicant to bring in septic soils on site to complete required engineering and testing for the proposed raised bed septic system. The planning board granted said waiver and authorization by vote of the board at their February 10th, 2025 meeting. 7, application is required to comply with the SWIP submitted, including required filing with the New York State DEC. At the February 10th, 2025 meeting, the planning board approved the conceptual sketch plans, site plan for the purposes of conducting and completing the SWIP. Final site plan documentation shall be consistent with that conceptual plan. Number 8, pursuant to Town Code Section 140-56. The applicant has provided the town a financial guarantee in the form of a draft letter of credit for the amount of $67,863.50, naming the town of Rochester as beneficiary to assure completion of certain landscaping and grading work, including the planting of trees, as well as construction of bioretention area and other stormwater management features. Details on this work, as well as the line of credit document, are included in the list of documents received above and were reviewed and approved by the planning board at their June 9, 2025 meeting and sent to the town board for final review and approval. At their meeting, town board, July 10th, 2025 meeting, the town board of the town of Rochester confirmed review of this documentation by the town attorney and voted to approve and accept the letter of credit as described here. Applicant shall comply with all elements of this work as documented prior to the town issuing a certificate of occupancy. And number 9, applicant will comply with all recommendations and requirements of the New York State Department of Transportation associated with access to and work within the right-of-way of New York State Route 209. Applicant will also comply with all permit requirements of the Ulster County Department of Health associated with septic system installation, water supply and food service operations, and any other relevant activities on site. Any and all permits required from New York State DOT and Ulster County DOH shall be filed with the town of Rochester Code Enforcement Officer prior to the issuance of any certificate of occupancy associated with this
You could just say
application.
with this app.
Yeah, it just get the, too many words in there. Number 10, applicant will coordinate with town building and fire inspector to ensure adequate ingress and egress for the new use of the existing building. And I believe we already had the fire department out there to evaluate where access to the building and where
Yeah, there's nothing there yet, but that's,
where there needs to be cross hatching, fire lanes and all
I think
that.
it's been discussed.
Right. Number 10, applicant will coordinate with town building and fire inspector to ensure adequate ingress and egress for the new use in the existing building. 11, dedicated parking, wall signage and exterior wall illumination shown on the submitted site plan shall be provided consistent with this site plan prior to occupancy. 12, 55 parking spaces shall be provided in the new parking lot, 3 of which shall be reserved and signed as ADA full of spaces. 13, all of these specific conditions of approval for this project shall be recorded on a final map before the signing by the chair. So Caleb, that's important for you. And here
Break
we
down
go.
note 10, just delete
Say that again.
item 10, the existing building.
Oh, yeah,
Use in the new building. Right?
right.
The Town of Rochester Planning Board further grants authority to the chairman to certify that these conditions have been met, at which time the chairman is advised to sign and date the plan without further resolution by the planning board. Town of Rochester Planning Board further grants to the chairman, in consultation with the town planner and or code enforcement officer, to approve minor site plan changes of a ministerial nature, which may arise due to unforeseen circumstances in the project site development. This is a new paragraph that Dave is going to put in subdivisions and site plans to avoid some situations that have occurred in the past where a project approved had to come back and not reapply, but go through a couple of meetings worth of appearing here for making just small changes to the plan. And there were some examples of that I think one of them is Lucky Petroleum. We've already done that. where there was just a change in the size of the workspace to accommodate, water treatment, for the presumed Dunkin' Donuts operation. So Dave tells me this is done somewhat pro forma in other towns, and it would be useful to have this. But it's important to understand that if it's a subdivision, typically not gonna make changes to a plan without it coming back here, because it has to go to the county with my signature. And those maps, you can't have multiple maps. It's more for site plans primarily. So anyway, it's here. I promise not to go wild with this ministerial permission. The site plan, I wanted to save us time and the applicants some time where possible, and course as well. And it'll be coordinated with the building department. The site plan approval and or special use permit shall remain effective as an authorization to establish the use for a maximum of 1 year from the date of approval. The planning board shall have the authority to grant an extension within the 1 year time frame in writing, provided the applicant has diligently pursued the implementation of the plans. Such extension shall be granted in 6-month increments up to a maximum of 4 increments, better known as 2 years. Absent such an extension, the site plan approval and or special use permit shall be deemed to have expired. The effect of this approval, the site plan amendment approval and associated conditions shall be binding upon the applicant and all successive owners of the land, so long as such uses shall occur. 2, signed decision shall be delivered to the town clerk within 5 days of said decision by the planning board. 3, the owner shall have the responsibility to deliver 5 final site plan maps to the planning board office for signing by the chair within 30 days of this decision. 1 map will go to the owner, 1 to the building department, 1 to the assessor, and 1 to the PB file, and 1 signed map copy along with final action report to the Ulster County Planning Board, because we had to have it appear before the planning board. Draft resolution was prepared by the chairman and or town planner, was read and discussed as needed by the planning board and a public meeting at the time and place of adoption. So anybody have any adjustments, questions? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve this.
I'll make a motion to approve it with the changes noted.
Okay. Peter makes the motion, Alina seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So 7-0. So, that's it.
Smiling.
Can I just say something? I just wanted to, say to you guys have put a tremendous amount of work into this. You've been a delight to deal with, and I'm looking forward to seeing. Caleb has been awesome, and you guys are a great team, so I just want to acknowledge that.
I will second that.
No, we're gonna do. We got Monday nights. Yeah, we can do that.
You're welcome to
Might come by anyway.
just bring some food from the restaurant.
Rick, I have a couple specific bonding questions that maybe I'll just email you tomorrow.
Yeah, why don't you give me a call or send me an email tomorrow about the bond? Okay,
Thank you all.
we're done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the long haul. Thank you very much.
Revise, make sure I get the verbiage right, not those notes on the index sheet.
So, Dave has been taking notes.
Yeah.
He's gonna need to give me, a clean copy.
Yeah.
And then you'll get a clean copy and, you can put those on the plan and get the new site plans in here as quickly as you can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. All right, thank you.
Restaurants.
To the restaurant, the rest of your summer. When do you think you're gonna break through? Oh, God, we're in the EDC right now. So we're making progress. We're making progress. EDC for. We need a speedy permit. Oh, that's.
That should be good.
Not for stormwater, it's for the.
Yeah.
Oh.
We
Okay.
got our speedies number.
We got it.
Good.
Yeah.
We got our permit number, just.
Good luck.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, the next project is Meadow Lake.
Oh.
You guys have been here almost as long as the first project.
It's about a year.
Okay, so I don't think I need to give any introductions. except to say that there were some interesting developments in the last 48 hours, to say the least. So I'm going to go through some of those. Let me just recap. This project has already gone through the public hearing process. We did do the neg deck, and we did close the public hearing. So that's important to note in terms of the remaining comments that I'm going to make. On Friday morning, I believe it was, I received from the town clerk a copy of the study that has been mentioned frequently by residents who have appeared at the public hearing and spoken about this project. And the study was called the New York State Rising Waters Study, done in 2016-17. It grew out of Hurricanes Irene from 2011 and Sandy in 2012, and the destruction that occurred in the Hudson Valley. Money was set aside to do a great many things for different municipalities in the Hudson Valley, in addition to various studies to examine creeks, tributaries, rivers in the Hudson Valley that overflowed their banks severely in different areas throughout Ulster County, Sullivan County, and other areas, north and west. One such study was done for the town of Rochester. It involved the Mumbacus, what was then called the Rochester Creek is now called the Mumbacus Creek, as the Mumbacus Creek came into the Rondout River, or stream rather, creek. And specifically, the residents had mentioned that there was treatment of two ponds along the Rochester / Mumbacus Creek, namely Meta Lake, then known, or some known in the study as Mooney Pond, and also another lake a little bit south of Mooney Pond, Meadow Lake. And I've sent that out to all the folks here. And essentially what it projected was done by a firm in Newport. And essentially it made some projections about work that needed to be done to the stream beds, to the confluence of the Mumbacus with the Rondout at 209, at or about Route 209, and was very specific about what should be done to Meadow Lake and to that other pond whose name escapes me right now. So in going through it, and it was found not on town grounds or town files. It was found by some good detective work by one of the people in the town, by going back to who the original writer of the story of the report was, who had been acquired by somebody else, and I think acquired again by somebody else. So they found the ultimate acquirer of all these firms. And the story goes that when they called and asked about the study, they said, "Oh yeah, we have copies here. Would you like one?" So the study had become a bit of an urban legend, if not, or suburban legend, if not an apocalyptic story about what would happen if these ponds were to fail. So I'm going to stop there. Dave, you had looked at it. Well, no, I won't stop there. So Dave and I did talk about how we're going to handle this. If you remember the last time when we did the neg deck, we determined it was a neg deck because we did not believe that there was anything that the applicant was doing to this property, as evidenced by the SWIP and the drainage study done by Matt Town, an engineer, a licensed engineer, that there would be no impact to the pond, but an inch and a half, if I recall, under the 100-year storm of additional water to be added to Meadow Lake. Insignificant amounts for less than a 100-year storm. So this board, in its negative declaration, decided that the negative declaration was appropriate because of all of the environmental issues that we had pointed out had been dealt with, whether it was creating an environmental conservation area on the project. If you remember, the houses were pushed up further towards the road. More land was given to the conservation subdivision area. The buried material in one portion has been isolated in an area that will never be disturbed. A hydrological study, a very extensive hydrological study was done that involved the drilling of a well and the testing of 5 neighborhood wells. That was done because, again, it was a type 1 in the aquifer protection zone. What other major studies were done? Quality and quantity studies were done. So all those things, plus the belief at that time, in the absence of this report, that there would be any impact on Meadow Lake. My reading of the report, and others, I believe, who have read it, I think it's safe to say that we're of the opinion, I'm of the opinion, I'll express my opinion, that with or without this project, something might happen to that lake, but it has nothing to do with the construction that is anticipated on this project site. And again, that was one of the reasons why we came up with the name debt. In fact, one of the comments that was made, I believe, by the applicant's representative was, the good thing is that somebody responsible was finally going to own this property and develop it, and would work with the appropriate agencies, probably the DEC, to make sure and to resolve any anticipated problems that may develop over time by the force of nature. So I'm going to stop there. We will read through the decision shortly, but I just want to see if anybody else has any comments from the board with respects to the study. And I'm pretty sure everybody has read it because I've gotten a variety of different comments from individuals.
If I could make this one comment, we received, the members of the public were concerned about erosion and effects on the berm. Well,
It's not,
Not
it is
I-
actual ground. The study called it a berm. It is not a berm. It is not a man-made structure.
so, but there were concerns about erosion. It's important to note that neither of these studies address those concerns. There's no study of erosion. There's no geomorphology is the term, but there's no study of geomorphology on this stream. All the second report looks at is impacts of some, dam break scenario. So that's just so everybody understands that the reports are agnostic on that.
Okay. Sure, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I have a couple questions about this report. So report, even it was, my understanding was commissioned or requested by town. Report, the town didn't get a copy of the report anywhere. I have to go to the original writer report in order to.
So I think what you're asking me is the town commissioned it, yeah, I believe so. At the point that the study was done and delivered presumably to the town, I've lost track of the storyline. So I don't know, I think you're asking, I think I heard you say or suggest, why didn't something happen at that point?
No, I'm just trying to understand the situation. So the town commissioned the report, but nevertheless, there were no ability to find it in its records.
So the town didn't have
Right.
a report.
They apparently didn't have the report.
Or they have the report probably. Wow, I mean,
The
this goes
report
back
was
to
found-
2006. The report was issued, what, in 2000?
17, not too long ago.
The report was not found on town grounds. Is it on town grounds? Could be, but it wasn't found.
Another question I have, so whose liability it is if something happened? Owner of the land, of the property?
I'm not a
or of the
lawyer.
town?
I'm
Because,
not a lawyer, we don't determine
right,
liability.
I'm just curious.
And we could spin our wheels. We have at least one lawyer here. We have 7 other wannabe lawyers. So liability usually goes with the owner of the property on which the cause of some issue that creates a liability, it goes with the owner of the property. But beyond that, I don't want to talk about liability. Because we're here to decide whether or not we're going to allow the project to proceed. Dave?
Just for folks to understand, so after Irene and Lee, pretty devastating around here. Federal funds were made available through the state, correct me if I'm wrong, Helena. And New York State called the program here New York Rising. And a tranche of money was available to municipalities I assume town of Rochester applied for study funds to analyze whether they should have a case to submit for actual remediation funds. So this, what they got was 2 studies and didn't follow through. That money's gone now. It's doesn't exist anymore.
And you would have, and in order to have followed, well, again, the study doesn't discuss the erosion, the constant or potential for erosion during hurricane strength storms. I mean, we all look at and we see that channel. I think the channel is relatively stable. I mean, if you've looked at any of the aerial photographs and going back through time, it's pretty stable. I mean, will it continue to erode? That's what streams do. You know, are there some mitigation practices that can be employed to slow down that? Yes, and we mentioned trees for tribs. We've talked about potential of, you know, when I mentioned in the field that the high water level was almost to the bank. That riser pipe, why that riser pipe is where it is a little questionable to me. But I think by employing those practices, they can slow the erosion, but that's, you know, I've dealt with a lot of avulsion and catastrophic breakthroughs of streams into lake excavations, et cetera, and gotten the streams back into the stream banks. This is relatively small. You can hope that it doesn't all go at once, which is an avulsion event. I don't see that happening, but I'm not, you know.
Okay.
But those are those things in order. You know, I also reached out again to Brian Drum, the manager of Bureau of Ecosystem Health. He's not going to go out and give you recommendations, but if you call him and you have a plan that you want to employ, he will look at the plan, tell you if a permit is required. You know, and again, originally, when we were at the site, I believe you said to me, could we put some concrete in there? And I laughed. Because, you know, it is a trout stream. Whether DEC would allow that, I cannot tell you. They're gonna do it on a case-by-case basis. But the other thing to think about is that might be an easy fix, but then you have to think about how are you gonna access that stream? And then in order to access that area of the stream bank with tractor trailers or dump trucks, you're also gonna have to cut a lot of vegetation, et cetera, and get it in there. So, you know, it's difficult, but nobody can predict when or what it will happen. It could be 20 years.
Yeah.
You could have a hurricane, you could lose more. Don't know.
I think this
Is there anybody who wants-
what I see is this is outside of our.
Absolutely, and
I
I
think the most significant salient point here is that this development doesn't significantly impact Meadow Lake.
Mhm,
And that's essentially what, you know, we have in front of us is
exactly.
the impact of this development.
Is everybody of that sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so nobody's opinion has changed from that causes us to have the night debt.
No, I think it's important for the public to know that the study it's an important resource for us going forward now that we have it for the town.
Yeah.
But it's also, it's important for the public to know that there are some suggested remediation techniques that are listed in the plan for the specific things. But that's, again, I totally agree that it's out of the
Oh,
scope
it's
of.
definitely, I feel very strongly that it is
Yeah.
out of the town's
Yeah.
purview.
Yeah.
And you
I
have a
didn't
willing.
notice that you felt strongly about it.
Yeah, well, you know,
Yeah.
having dealt with this and you have a willing landowner as opposed
Well, I think that's
to,
the-
they weren't here.
That's the important thing. All right, so I'm gonna proceed then with the decision. And
So, Rick, we're just noting on, so then on the semi-stream of consciousness findings on page 5, we're gonna have to do some editing.
Yes,
yes,
please,
yeah, so we'll do the editing here,
good.
Okay,
okay?
I'll
So-
do my best to follow.
What Dave is referring to is during I believe there were five versions of this as we got more information, and
This particular topic, we just kept it all in there for the time being.
so bear with us as we go through stream of consciousness and do some of the noodling here. All right, so this is the project for Meadow Lake. It's an 8-lot residential subdivision along with 2 common conservation recreational lots. The total acreage is 65.96 acres, plus or minus. On page 2 and 3 and part of 4, the top of 4, is a listing of multiple documents that were reviewed. And we also added to this at the bottom of page 3 and the top of page 4, we did add the recently found study that disappeared from our records from 2016 and 17, so that's now documented. So findings, and again, I'm going to read through these. Whereas Meadow Lake seeks major subdivision approval to create 8 residential lots and 2 common recreation conservation lots on an existing undeveloped lot, lots will share private roads or common driveways to access Medicahonts Road, a town road. And whereas the applicant submitted an application of zoning permit and classification to the town of Rochester. And whereas the CEO determined that the applicant had met zoning requirements and that it would require major subdivision approval. And whereas you got a little whereas here, I'm surprised. Whereas
It's the format you've been using for subdivisions. I don't.
okay, that's fine. And whereas the applicant submitted an application for such subdivision approval filed on July 29th, 2024, and whereas the applicant has made multiple appearances at planning board meetings and planning board members and representatives have met with the applicant, including on-site field visits to consider subdivision design options to minimize land disturbances and meet resource protection and conservation requirements, notably those related to prime farmland, stream buffer, and all other applicable standards from the town subdivision regulations in chapter 125. Specifically, the planning board finds that the applicant has redesigned the original application plan and has now submitted a conservation design plan subdivision as revised, which will leave the maximum amount of prime farmlands undisturbed and contiguous and will minimize land disturbance, including from new private roads and driveways through conservation design standards. And whereas the planning board has carefully considered all submittals related to the relating to the project from the applicants and their consultants, its own consultants, comments and or approvals from public officials and agencies, including without limitation the code enforcement officer and the general public. And whereas at their June 9th, 2025 meeting, the planning board declared their intent to be lead agency as a type 1 action under seeker, circulated for lead agency to all involved and interesting agencies, and at their June 23rd, 2025 meeting made a negative declaration that this project will not have a potential for significant adverse environmental impact, given documentation provided by the applicant and by town staff and consultants, as well as avoidance of any significant adverse impacts with submission of a conservation design plan. And whereas at their June 9th, 2025 meeting, the planning board opened a public hearing on this application and we did receive, it says received no comments on June 9th.
And receive comments.
We did receive comments on June 9th.
Yes.
And we did receive comments.
Going back one, Rick, I gotta research when you declare lead agency.
It's a little funky.
It was sooner than that. I'll do that on.
The lead agency was mailed out. I remember it was the same time we mailed out the Verizon lead agency. It was done.
It's actually in the
Got a time frame
document.
here that's 2 weeks. That's
not,
it's not kosher.
Yeah, you gotta, I think it's above, actually. I'll do that. With the board's prerogative, we'll get that date right.
Okay.
Okay,
So it's the date of original,
it's the date
it was
it was circulated.
circulated, and then
Right.
when was it declared?
So my notes are January 27th.
Was
January?
Yeah, it was circulated.
January 27th.
That's the.
Okay.
That was the same time we.
We'll
mailed
put
out.
that in. Oh, okay,
Please
January.
double check that, but that's what we need to check.
Put it in as January 27th and we need to. check
okay,
it.
I'll just double check.
Okay. So, but we definitely
Thank you,
received,
Jennifer.
we definitely received public comments on June 9th. And we also received them on June 23rd date.
Correct,
All right, so we need to make that,
so I'll add,
well, I would say, whereas
reopen the public hearing on January reserved and received additional comments.
on both the June 9th and June 23rd, yeah.
Okay,
There was a. Where do you cover,
when it was open and closed?
oh no, where do you cover when we did the negative deck? Of course, we did that on. The
It was in the
20,
beginning of that.
You have that on the 23rd in the paragraph before.
yes, thank you, okay. All right. The public hearing was closed on June 23rd, you have that, and the final,
Was opened on June 9th and closed on the 23rd.
right. But then you say the public hearing was closed and the final decision was read. No,
That's because we were originally,
we were gonna do it on the 20,
member
the screw up
the
with
public hearing hiccup.
All right, so we have to,
Public hearing was closed and final
on the 23rd,
third and final decision was read. They'll put the today's date.
today's date. Tell me when you're ready.
You can vote.
Whereas public comments received during the public hearing, as well as in writing, as noted above, in the listing of documents received and reviewed, focused on reports of potential prior burial of demolished buildings on site, potential impact to neighboring water supply wells with new groundwater well withdrawals, as well as concerns about the safety of the dam berm adjacent to Rochester, also known as Mombacas Creek, containing Mooney Pond, also known as Meta Pond Lake. Planning Board researched these issues, consulted with applicant and town professional consultants, and agreed to both the hydrological study with pump testing and monitoring of 5 neighboring wells, along with groundwater quality and quantity testing, and a drainage analysis of the property with the stormwater pollution prevention plan, better known as a SWIP, for the proposed project. These studies and testings are listed above and help to confirm that no significant adverse environmental impact to groundwater quality or quantity and to drainage on the site or into the pond, given the documentation provided in full compliance with the final subdivision plans. Whereas in July of 2025, and with the assistance of research done by the Rochester Town Clerk and Supervisor, the Planning Board received copy of 2 complimentary reports examining stream and pond repair and restoration along the Rochester and Rondout Creeks. These studies are listed last in the document review list above in this decision. Each was supported through the New York Rising program, researching flooding and flood remediation along the Rochester/Mombacas Creek and the Rondout Creek, along with severe erosion from storms Irene and Lee. I think I said Sandy, you're right, it was Lee. In these reports, the conditions and remediation options were studied for Meadow Lake, also known as Mooney Lake or Mooney Pond, and as part of the subject applicant's property. After reviewing these studies, the Planning Board supports our prior findings as complemented by the engineering research of the studies, and the board concludes that the proposed subdivision and development of the residential and conservation lots as documented will not have any significant adverse impact on the lake, its drainage or shoreline. Indeed, as required part of this decision, the lake and its shoreline will be fully contained in the conservation lot, limiting further development. However,
I think you can.
it is clear now that there is potential future risk of downstream flooding due to existing stream bank conditions which have existed since at least 2011 at the time of Hurricane Irene. The 2016 and 17 studies recommended remediation. The Planning Board recognizes the policy challenges balancing the low hazard rating of the Mooney Pond by the DEC with the professional analysis done for this application and the professional analysis done in 2016 and 17, more broadly for the Rochester Creek drainage area. As such, the planning,
Well, this is where we get into,
Okay.
we've got a bunch of,
I think you can probably cut the next.
I think
so-
we,
Well, actually,
this is an assemblage of all the suggestions
Yeah.
people made.
can I make a suggestion?
go ahead.
At the next line, which was reading as such, the planning board requires the applicant to initiate. I suggest potentially substituting requires with recommends the applicant to initiate with the DEC a discussion on any necessary remediation actions with Moody Pond, period.
Is
And
the board
then-
okay with that?
Yeah.
Recommends?
And then,
Hang on, Alina,
He's
let
got
Dave
more.
catch up. Recommends.
Yes, but
Go ahead.
and then. after-
Alina shared with me this proposal,
Yeah.
so if you accept it, she can get it to me.
Yeah, and then after Moody Pond, strike the rest, which
Should-
states, and we will correspond with the DEC directly or strongly suggest that they must engage in the discussion. That does not belong in there, so I
That's up
believe
to
that
DEC.
should be stricken.
We had talked about various ways of making sure the DEC paid attention, but
They will pay it, if the applicant sends in if the onus is on the applicant.
okay.
Also, it says Moody Pond, it should be Moody.
Mooney,
Mooney.
right?
All right, so Alina, you're recommending we cross out,
Change requires to recommend,
right?
and then after we correct Moody Pond to Moody Pond,
Right,
strike the rest of the sentence.
okay. All right, additionally, the planning board notes that the past owner apparently was not interested in cooperating on Mooney Pond, research or remediation if needed. However, the current owner is cooperative. A cooperative effort between the property owner and New York State DEC is important. How about important?
And then the
That's
next,
Period.
and then the next piece is,
Again, require should be changed to recommend.
Okay, so further and out of an abundance of caution, the planning board will recommend
well, or
the applicant,
you recommend.
we're gonna use. the
Planning
word
board
recommend.
recommends.
Okay,
Is that what you're proposing, Helena?
That's what I propose.
the applicant to lower the level of the lake.
And maybe also put in, and or, we can get some input from their engineer. To either lower the level of the lake or lower the elevation of the riser pipe, because the riser pipe is very, very high.
So how about we leave it out? Leave that out. I'm not disagreeing with you.
That's fine, whatever you think.
Let's just get to a point where we can agree on the adjustments that we're making, which are recommend to the applicant as opposed to require,
Okay.
and that they lower the level of the lake to a level determined cooperatively by professionals for the applicant, New York State DEC, and the town of,
And I would strike the town of.
get out,
Rochester.
take out the town of Rochester, or to come up with alternative best action to decrease the hydrostatic pressure against the berm, against the
Oh,
berm. What
could
word
we
should we?
change berm to separation?
Yes,
Against the separation between, because again, berm connotates a man-made structure, that's natural ground
Say that.
and the embankment.
okay, embankment is good,
Embankment, what do you want?
embankment
That's good.
that contains Mooney Pond. Is the board okay with those changes? So
Yeah.
the major change is instead of require, it's recommends.
Chet seems to want it
And
to
the
be.
town is not gonna be involved in the discussions.
It's not.
Okay, all right, let's keep going. Dave, you okay?
I apologize, my spell check wants it to be Moody Pond.
I'll let you talk to your spell check later.
Who knows why?
Okay. Whereas the above referenced studies and plan were reviewed by the town professionals and planning board and support that the project as proposed should not have any significant adverse impact to groundwater quality or quantity or to on-site drainage and the condition of Mooney Pond.
You got it right there, Dave.
Yeah. Further noted is that the applicant has revised the subdivision plan to minimize stormwater runoff and erosion and has included 2 restricted conservation and recreation common lots, including one that will fully contain Mooney Pond and its shores to ensure this setting will remain undeveloped. And whereas further research identified Moody Pond as a 25-foot high earthen embankment.
Well,
No, it's a dam.
there is a dam at
Oh,
the end,
at
and
the-
whether it's 25 foot, I can't.
I don't know.
This is out of the listing with DEC.
Okay.
Okay,
I don't know if this is still necessary or not, you can decide.
Let's keep reading it for ourselves and let's see if it's necessary. Well, I think it just confirms the fact that the DEC has declared this to be a dam of the following threat level, which was very low threat
Right.
level. So I would leave it in.
absolutely, that part I would absolutely.
Okay, let's leave it in. It doesn't require any action by the applicant. It's simply stating what the DEC has said in their report, so let's leave it in there. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Rochester Planning Board hereby finds that this application complies with the criteria for approval in chapters 125 and 140 of the town code and with all other applicable provisions of the town code, including 125, that should be 125, Dave.
Yeah.
125 25 A and 23.
Yeah, I'll flip the numbers.
Yeah, I don't think,
23 and 25.
okay, so just correct that.
That's
Requirements and standards for a conservation design plan and hereby approves both the preliminary plan and final plan for this project as depicted in a plan showing subdivision plat meta compound prepared by Willingham Engineering dated 9/30/24 with revisions of 12/30/24, 127/25, 4/14/25, and 6/23/25, subject to the attached conditions. Okay. Anybody on the findings, have anything on their findings? Okay, I'm not gonna read the general conditions, of course. They're just pro forma. We use these in all the other decisions. Specific conditions of approval. 1, a final subdivision plat shall be provided consistent with the sketch and or preliminary plan noted above and consistent with all, not will, with all conditions of this approval. 2, all surveyors and engineers' notes on final map submitted must be followed in the field. 3, applicant shall comply with any and all comments on or requirements from the town of Rochester Highway Superintendent related to access to Medicahunts Road. 4, item 3 above shall be noted on the final plat map submitted for signature. We need to, all right, leave that there for now, but we need to talk about, I think many of these need to go onto the map, not just number 3. Okay, but we'll come back to that. 5, the applicant has provided a declaration of covenants, restrictions, easements, and charges for Medicahunts, Meadow Lake LLC, prepared by Marcus Attorney PLLC. Said document shall be reviewed and accepted by the town. Dave, are you referring here to the HOA agreement or the?
It's the packaged one, which you're still talking about, right?
Yeah, this isn't gonna fly because
Well, at the point I was writing this, you were still
we were still
sorting,
going back and
in
forth.
fact, you're still sorting it out, I think.
We're still sorting it out. So for the board's purposes, the applicant had, first of all, the town doesn't approve the HOA. This planning board, its attorney goes through the HOA and says it's according to Hoyle, but more importantly, the Secretary of State of New York State approves it. So we review it just to make sure that things that we may want in it are in it. So
But you do have an obligation under the conservation lots to assure that it's,
that they're protected by
that
the
they're
HOA.
protected by either an HOA or a qualified organization.
Right. So
I assume that's an attorney with you.
yes, Dave's review. The town board doesn't review the HOA. The
Right,
RMA, they do review. So the applicant had proposed at one point in time that the HOA and the RMA be one document. I sent a letter out last night or Saturday night, I don't remember which, it's all blurry now. It ain't gonna fly.
That's fine.
We have to have it. I like it, attorneys like it, but it's gonna have to be separate because there are different people reviewing it. So what I would ask the board, I'm gonna be asking the board for some of these items to allow the chair to continue to work on the HOA, the RMA, and the LC. So if you agree to that later on, this paragraph will need to change.
Dave, is that a typo? Is it meta compound or should be
No,
compound?
that's the title you can use,
Compound?
compound, I'm sorry, it's D, right?
Yeah,
One word?
One word?
One word,
but it's a D at the end.
it's a D, not a T.
It's a D at the end.
Okay.
A lot of, I brought up the same thing and I'm gonna let it go. It's in other documents produced by the applicant's engineer, presumably, it's meta compound, so I'm just gonna let it go. We
So
refer
Rick, I
to-
guess you're gonna, the board will have to agree that number 5 will be rewritten.
Yeah, yes. That I would work with you to rewrite that as well as to confirm the RMA and to confirm the LC.
Right.
Wait till we get to the end and then the board can give that
Okay.
permission, okay? Number 6, the applicant shall present Ulster County Health Department permits for new septic systems prior to the planning board chair signing the final subdivision plan. Well, that's not gonna fly because you're not building these all out at once. So Dave, that's not gonna fly. They might be doing 1 or 2 in the next year, but you indicated to me this was gonna be developed over years.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna sign the plat at some point in time.
had to apply for all the lots.
Well, you still have to all at once?
Yeah, that's
So-
already been submitted.
Yeah, for subdivision, you still.
So,
That's all.
Yeah.
so they won't seek building permits.
They won't be building
They'll
permits.
do that in a right, but they would do that in a phased way then.
Correct,
Okay.
correct, but all the health department, in order for subdivision, you have to have approval of the septic system.
Right,
You have.
because you can't file the map
Okay,
without all that.
so I take back what I said. You're gonna get the septic approvals for all the lots. It's the C of O that would be for each individual lot. Okay, take that back. 7, the applicant shall present documentation that the stormwater pollution prevention plan has been submitted and accepted by the New York State DEC.
And this one's in negotiation, right?
Okay, so the number 8, if you can read through it real quick, everybody. This one is work in progress. If you remember, similar to Accord Social. Get a number. And again, I'm asking the board, they will get a number for two major things. One would be for the landscaping. And the other one would be for all the utilities, the trenching and material cost of the utilities. Other than that, there's no other work that we need to bond for. The private pool and all that. That's on them. We're not gonna, if we did have to take over the project, we're not gonna build out, town's not gonna build out the private pool and all that. It's
No.
really just the services. No, they won't.
Roads,
We just need to be able to
Site.
build out whatever's necessary to allow people to live there, which would be electricity, cable. As far as the roads, they're not putting down macadam. It's gonna be gravel. The roads are essentially gonna be what you see the roads as today. Okay, and that's part of the conservation objective that they have, so. On number 8, I'd like the board to allow me to continue to work with Matt and the applicant to come up with the numbers and to get it to the town board.
So we're waiting on estimates for that.
I'm waiting on estimates. Matt gave me an estimate. I said I need detailed
Yeah,
description of the estimates.
and then it's 125% or something. right?
25.
what
And
is
the
the
initial-
difference? I'm sorry, what's the difference between 12? Because it seems to me the duplicate. So
Let's wait till we get to 12.
So 12 was so you know, 12 was a standard one that may be redundant now.
Let's wait till we get there.
Okay.
Well, while it may not represent a very high cost, it would seem to me that you'd still want to list the common driveway portion.
Why?
Because it's been my experience in other towns, what ends up happening is the person buys the lot. I understand that this may be different, but the person buys the lot at the end of the road. And then the town says, well, you gotta build a common driveway. And he's like, well, but that's shared between 3 other lots. Your first one here, you gotta build it.
You're building them.
Yeah, we have that, it's in the HOA documents that it's a shared, that the HOA is building.
The,
The HOA, the homeowners association is
Is
gonna be
built.
responsible for the building of them.
in the main,
And the maintenance.
Yeah.
It's definitely responsible for the maintenance, because I read, I would think that it's responsible for the building, but I can double check that.
like I said, I was just, anyways,
I think we're.
because I guess if you're looking at it that way, because they may not build one of the two roads at this time, and then they've got a letter of credit out there for a long period of time.
Well, we're gonna have to talk about the letter of credit, because typically the letters of credit usually go for a year. It may have to go longer because you're gonna be building out longer, and presumably all the infrastructure that you're putting in, cabling and all that, is that gonna all be done at once, or are you gonna do that over time? So this letter of credit might wind up having to be an evergreen letter of credit, which renews itself every year.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about. You don't have to give an answer to that now. We'll talk about it. I'm trying to get this to the approval state so they can get the permits to continue to move forward is
I understand, I just,
the combination of the HOA, RMA, LC raises some issues that haven't all been resolved yet.
What does LC?
Oh,
Let's-
Letter of credit. Peter, you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, number 9, the applicant has agreed to initiate coordination with New York State DEC Region 3 regarding the existing conditions of and any recommended improvements, remediation or maintenance of Mooney Pond, also known as Meadow Lake Dam, and implementation of such recommended remediation or improvements. 10, for emergency purposes only, planning board recommends that applicant coordinate with the Accord Fire Department for emergency access rights to water from Mooney Pond, Meadow Lake, and the installation of a dry hydrant as a community benefit. We had talked about that during a site visit months and months and months ago. So,
It would just be a recommendation. It would may be a benefit to you and your community there as well as the community around to have access. It's not like, so we can get a,
there may be certain insurance benefits.
yeah. I can't say there is, but there might be. It's worth looking at.
Yeah.
So this is a recommend, not a must do.
Okay.
Okay. 11, the planning board finds that a recreation fee consistent with the current town fee schedule shall be paid by the applicant for 4 lots, being any and all lots 5 through 8. So 5, 6, 7, and 8. The way it reads, it says 5 lots or more. So you have 8 lots, we're just gonna say lot 5, 6, 7, and 8. The fee is $500 a lot. So that will need to be paid at some point. We can talk about that. Number 12. That could be,
That proves to be redundant.
that's redundant, so we can get rid of that.
Just strike 12.
And so 13 becomes 12. The applicant shall present a final subdivision plan for signature. Dave, going back to item number 4 on the previous page, you mentioned that number 3 needs to go on the map. Are there any other items here that need to go onto the map?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Rest don't look that map worthy.
No, okay. These are conditions that, all right. Here we go. The town of Rochester Planning Board further grants authority to the chairman to certify that these conditions have been met, at which time the chairman is authorized to sign and date the plat without further resolutions by the planning board. So this is where, and if you want to add some language, this is where I'm asking you to allow me to continue to work with our attorney, their attorney, them on the HOA, the RMA, and the letter of credit. If you want more specific, if you wanted to specifically say those 3 things, we can add that. Or if you feel that this is sufficient.
I think you should specifically.
Okay. So Dave, let's change this to say the town of Rochester Planning Board further grants authority to the chairman to certify that these conditions have been met. And to work specifically on
or maybe and to finalize the language of
whatever you think is appropriate.
items 8 and,
Now, let's call them out.
okay, the line of credit and
A line of credit
and
HOA
the HOA and
and RMA.
RMA. In
At what-
the final, what do you want, and to finalize those?
To finalize those. And then at which time the chairman is authorized to sign and date the plat without further resolution by the planning board. We good with that?
I think it's fine, and I know you'll do this anyway, but just keep us appraised.
I will.
Yeah, I say it and I know it, but.
You'll get plenty of emails. About it.
So, are we listing the numbers here?
Yeah, and how are we gonna do with the numbers now?
How are we gonna do with the what?
Well, you wanna hold number 5 for the RMA and the HOA and number 8 for the line letter of credit? How do you wanna reference it?
Item,
Okay,
So in other
so,
words, once you settle it, I think Hans's question, if I may, is you're compelled then to fill in
so let's make number 5.
those 2 items, right?
That's
5 and 8.
exactly.
Yes. Number 5 will be for the HOA RMA. We'll discuss those two in number 5, and number 8 will be for the letter of credit.
And 12, you.
Okay,
And 12 was gonna, yeah, 12 was outside.
we good?
Yep.
Okay. Good. The final subdivision approval shall expire 180 days from this approval date unless all conditions are satisfied and certified as completed. This period may be extended for 2 additional 90-day periods upon application to and approval by the town of Rochester Planning Board. The effect of approval, the owner shall file for signature and certification in the office of Ulster County Clerk 6 approved paper plats and 1 Mylar plat copy bearing the chairman's signature and any other related documents within 62 days from the date of the chairman's signature, or such approval shall be deemed to expire without further notice in accordance with New York State Town Law, Section 276. 2, the owner shall have the responsibility to return 5 Ulster County Clerk certified copies of this filed plat and any other related documents to the Tour Planning Board within 30 days of such filing. 3 of these maps will be retained by the planning board and the other 2 retained by the applicant. Draft resolution was prepared by the chairman and or town planner, was read and discussed as needed by the planning board in a public meeting at the time and place of adoption. Any final changes anybody wants to make? There being none, I'll entertain a motion.
second.
Who made the motion?
So I make it.
Zuri made the motion. Who seconded?
Sounds made, I make a second.
Who made the first?
Hans made the
Hans,
first,
sorry.
Lorian secondly.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Chair votes aye, 7-0. Okay.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you, everyone.
When I reviewed the HOA and the easements, I'm glad Dave brought it up and it's in the resolution. I was not looking for the section of the easements that would essentially preserve the conservation area. I was looking more at the RMA.
That's not, that has to be resolved.
Yeah, and my recall is it wasn't there. So.
Because you're waiting for that, everything to be.
So the comment that I made was that what these easements aren't permanent because you had reserved the right to cancel them in the HOA. We'll get that on the conservation area easement, so we'll need to work on that.
Right, so how are we gonna do that? Just Go
Well,
back
I
and
suggest
forth.
your attorney draft something, if they want to come, we can talk about it. The real question is, do we need a separate document for that? The board should know that the easement document that was prepared is sort of an omnibus easement that has sort of everything in it, not only the easements, for example, for the RMA, which is what we typically look for, but it was really more just a total shared common property type of a thing with recreation, et cetera. And the RMA was a part of that, and so I approved it on that basis, although there was a cancellation provision that was allowed that raises some questions that I brought up. But the conservation easement is not.
But that would be on the deed, that'll be separate, that won't be,
whether it's in the HOA or not is not relevant, that'll be recorded on the deed. right?
Well, the HOA also has to commit to do that preservation, so it's gonna be in the HOA and it would have to be in some sort of easement.
But just, yeah, the HOA has to, this 80%, this dissolution clause is required, it's a statutory requirement.
It's what?
It's a
Statutory.
requirement,
Okay,
So
it's not that we just put it.
not to add more confusion, but to add more confusion, I can tell you right now, the town's not gonna wanna look at the HOA. So if you bury RMA language in the HOA and say it's in there, then
no, there's
We're
a,
gonna do separate argument.
I understand, I just wanna make sure that we get two documents, one the town board approves.
there are two documents, there's a the only issue, if you wanna call it that, is that the declaration of easement is a very broad set of easements, it's not just an RMA, it relates to.
Easements too.
But the easements will be recorded in the deed, so should we have our attorney draft that in a separate document to be.
It's all gonna be, I mean, these are all gonna be, all the easements are gonna be recorded, and I assume it's gonna be done with the deed also, so however we work it out, I'll check to see what the best mechanism is, my only point is that it's gotta be drafted, I didn't look at it before, and my recall is it's not there.
Yeah, no, it's not there.
You're done.
All
All right, thank you.
I also would like to just, I'd just like to applaud the applicants again for being extremely patient with the changes in the code and working with us and making a lot of significant changes to make this a really strong application. You've all been a delight to work with, so.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And thank you, Al, for.
Thank you.
Welcome to the
Thank you.
neighborhood.
I think
It's really great partner.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Understanding of the new code, and
Yeah.
we really thank you also.
Matt, these are for another project, Heliconia, you wanna take these?
Eric, I'll
I
send you.
don't
some
know.
documents. I'll send you the clean resolution.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
If you didn't take them tonight, we'll make sure.
Hey, Matt.
Thank you.
I'll send you the clean resolution.
Oh,
Thank you.
Hey, Matt, just so you know, if you're from the farm in us, and it's focused on.
We got a.
They're crazy.
Did you get through the?
I was coming
In
from.
the end, it's the acre.
So we got it.
Never did get that far.
Okay.
Okay.
Nothing else on there?
But example here.
You didn't say.
No.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Have
Stay for one more.
Okay, one more.
It's tricky. I don't really know.
Okay, Matt,
Ask around.
you're here for Mickenberg. Okay. So, I think everybody's also familiar with, the Mickenberg project. The, at the last meeting, we did the negative declaration, of this project. But we left the public hearing open. So before we go any further with discussion on a number of issues, is there anybody from the public, that wants to speak, on the Mickenberg, project? Can I have you, did you sign in or?
I'm sorry, I don't think I did.
Okay, hi. You could come up, stand, sit, whatever you wanna, whatever's convenient.
I know I spoke with you all before, so good evening, Chair Jones and other members of the board. I do appreciate you listening to me once again.
And your first name is?
My name is Laura.
Laura Geary, right?
GERR1. So I'm here again to state my objection to the proposed Mickenberg subdivision due to all the concerns I had previously raised pertaining to water scarcity. The last time we had mentioned during the March 31st meeting that in 2019, there were a number of neighbors that had raised significant concerns when our subdivision that I live in now was proposed. And despite those objections and the statements that these neighbors' wells had been drugged, the planning board approved the subdivision after receiving a couple of professional opinions that there would be no effect. One of those opinions was a statement by a consulting engineer, and it was based on 3 neighbors that the current owner of the subdivision property, the proposed subdivision, had found that we're not currently having issues with their wells. So in total, we had 6 neighbors, right? 50% had issues, 50% didn't. But he was saying that he was certifying based on those 3 people that everything would be fine and the drilling could go on without any water comments. The other professional opinion was from the drilling company that was later hired to drill the wells in the current situation that I'm on. Also disclosed previously that our well, which appears to be within an area that the town has identified as a low water yield area, was approved with 3 gallons per minute flow, which is below the FHA standards of at least 5 gallons per minute for new construction and below many lenders' requirements. Unfortunately, my lender didn't ask for that info and has run dry a number of times, leaving us walking on eggshells when it comes to water usage in our new 3-bedroom home occupied by 2 adults who are very conservative water. So my concern is that this can get worse, and we know that nearby wells can interfere with each other and run the risk of overdrawing the aquifer. We know that professional speculations in the past were wrong, and that this will not be the only proposal for a new well in our vicinity, with other local lots for sale and undeveloped, either undeveloped and having the potential of being developed. So I'm asking that you please consider these concerns, along with the other professional opinions that have been provided that have stated that more due diligence is required, including the objection that was stated in the prior meeting from Daniel North, the prior being March 31st, who has a PhD in physical chemistry. Her professional and scientific opinion is that water availability will be jeopardized. And also the more recent July 12th letter from Lauren E. McPhillips, who is associate professor of civil and environmental engineering at Penn State, with a specialization in water resources, who also stated that further hydrological investigation is justified. And that's
Thank
what
you,
I'm
Laura.
asking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did she submit that?
Sorry,
Did she submit that?
you sent me,
I did send you.
you sent me what you just read, you sent me.
Not exactly verbatim, but I did send.
Do you want to submit that?
That's okay, we have it.
Not that.
Okay, we do have. I did receive it from today,
You
right?
did.
Yes. And it's in the file. Okay. Anybody else want to speak? Your name is?
Charles Nurko. State law requires the planning board to take a hard look at the environmental impacts of the proposed subdivision. For the 273 Ridgeview Road subdivision, the community got together, warned of the environmental risk, planning board approved it anyway, disregarded the community concerns. We cannot allow that same mistake to happen again. It's not the community's burden to prove the environmental risk of the subdivision. The burden is on the applicant to prove that no risk exists. Nevertheless, the community has gotten together and provided firsthand accounts of extensive water availability problems right by the proposed subdivision, as well as 2 professional scientific opinions, one from Dr. Nurko submitted March 31st, 2025, who urges the planning board to consider the reasonable build-out scenario of the entire neighborhood, not just viewing this application in a vacuum. There's nearby undeveloped lots, and with recent changes to town zoning, existing homeowners could make an ADU on their property and double water usage. Further, I urge the board to consider the recent expert report of Dr. McPhillips, one of the country's top hydrologists who's worked in Ulster County before, and says that more research, including pump tests, are needed. I also want to take a look at Planners Church Subcommittee report, because if there is a further judicial review of any decision, I think this is the key document a judge would look at to determine whether the planning board satisfied the hard look requirement. Here's what the report states. First, it concedes that property owners have the right to groundwater below their lands. That's imported in rain. But quote, more research here may be needed, or at least more quantifiable evidence. Planner Church's report goes on to say, given inconclusive information, that makes further recommendations. The report also says, quote, more research is needed to consider how best to more broadly address groundwater impacts from future new developments in the subject neighborhood, end quote. If this were to be reviewed by a judge, the planning board isn't taking a hard look. It's refusing to take a look. The own subcommittee report said more investigations needed. That's confirmed by the independent reports of two expert scientists. Let's not make the same mistake that was made in 2019. Plus, with the multiple open meeting law violations noted already on the record, the objectors would receive attorney's fees if they were to make a successful challenge. I urge the board to consider this much more seriously, including revisiting the neg deck vote from the last meeting, which again was not made in compliance with the open meeting law. That should be revisited tonight, and the board should consider denying this ill-conceived subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nicol. Anybody else want to make comments? Going once, going twice. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion.
Then Jennifer makes the motion, Hans will second. Okay, I have a couple of comments. One in particular that I want to make about the expert opinion of the lady from Penn State. In her report, she indicates a statement by Steve Winkley. I think everybody by this time is familiar with Steve Winkley. He's the fellow who did the study that was used, one of the studies that was used by the subcommittee or the working group. It was written in 2006 and they examined water availability throughout the town. And the Mrs. McPhillips from Penn State indicated that Winkley's report indicates that relatively large, I'm quoting now, relatively large subdivisions as well as other subdivisions in low well yield areas should have a hydrological report completed prior to approval. The problem with that statement, and that is a true statement, it's from page 2 in the Winkley report. The problem with that statement is that on other pages, he clarifies what he meant by that statement. So I want to read, so her comments are quite incomplete. So I want to read on page 32 of the Winkley report, 3/4 of the way down, and enter it into the record. A hydrological study should be required for any new subdivision involving 10 or more lots that relies upon either on-site groundwater withdrawals and or on-site sewage disposal. Period. A hydrological study should also be performed for any new subdivision involving 5 or more lots that relies upon on-site groundwater withdrawals and overlies a low well yield area identified in this document. So he didn't blanket say that you need a hydrological study for everything in the area. He was discriminating, saying that you needed, where there are 10 lots or more in general in the town, and where there's low well yields, it needs to be 5 lots or more. So the Penn State letter that we got is highly incomplete. So that's, I want to put there, and there are similar anomalies in that letter, but I'm not going to go into it. So I continue to be fine with what we've done so far with this project. The fact that we, the board through its working committee, took a look at and tried to identify wells that had a variety of different yields. We identified them, came up with the anomaly, which was part of the report of deep wells having little water, shallow wells having a lot of water, and lots of other comments and anomalies in the area. The committee rather, that subcommittee also didn't make yet definitive recommendations, but said that further study would be needed and that further recommendations to the town board would be made by this working group. And there could be a great many of those recommendations going forward in order to provide for future scenarios. So all I want to do is, and I'm going to leave it up to the board if you want to redo anything from what we've done already. I want to remind the board that the project is a 2-lot subdivision, 1 lot of which already has a well on it. So in effect, this is a 1-lot application. Similar to one lot applications for better or for worse that are made to the building department every day, every other day, and for which permits are given to continue. That's not to diminish having dry wells. God knows there are a couple of people on the board who probably experienced that. I've experienced that and have had to deal with that. So not mitigating it or denigrating in any way the problems of resolving that. But what I am doing is simply saying that this one lot essentially begs the question of asking for a hydrological study, and there's nobody here, particularly Mr. Winkley, who is suggesting that that be done. He says instead the exact opposite of what the Penn State lady says, which is you would do that when there were 5 lots or more. Now, we might want to make a recommendation down the road that that change that be codified in the town code to 2 or more, 3 or more, or that it be codified for certain areas in the town with a particular kind of underlying rock. For example, in one of the maps for the Winkley study, it's noted that all the wells that there are well reports for that lie in what's called the Esopus shale rock are low yielding wells. So perhaps the code says that additional studies need to be done where that is apparent in those kind of soils. And the soils and what the soils are around the town are readily available. So anyway, but that's down the road to make those kind of recommendations and ask for some quantification of those kinds of things. So that's really all I have to do to summarize. I think where the board was the 23rd, and also to answer the letter from the Penn State person.
Just a note, I think we have a motion on the floor, but we haven't voted on it, on the close of the public hearing.
Oh, thank you. I thought we did close it. Did we close the public hearing?
No, but there's a motion.
Well, I would just point out as a point of order, the way discussions typically occur under Robert's rules is you make a motion, you second it, and then you discuss it for as long as you want.
So I just want to make sure.
You voted, and we wouldn't actually have the opportunity for discussion, at least on that particular question. It might come up again, but there's nothing wrong with motion second and then have a discussion.
I just didn't want the motion.
Okay, so remind me that we still have to vote.
Okay, just.
Okay. Discussion on the project.
I would just want to comment that I'm looking forward to pulling something together to refer to the town to encourage further study, because I don't think we have the authority to undertake that level of analysis. And so obviously there's public concern, so let's certainly pull some ideas together.
Irrelevant of this application.
Is there an
I
indication?
hear you. Irrelevant
Yeah,
of this application. It is.
yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I think that, some of the things that could be suggested would be to limit future like ADUs. I don't know if they can do that, but that would be something to further subdivision, further buildings on.
Well, the decision does have some, correct me if I'm wrong, we did put some limitations on.
But I'm talking about in the area.
Oh, yeah,
In
okay.
the area.
And the challenge here is that it's not an area that is universally low yield, right?
Right.
I mean, we're looking at very spotty, and that's characteristic of this area as well.
But I also was going out that we've taken unusual steps in our decisions that we're preparing. We conditioned drilling the well and making sure professional opinion, making sure that it doesn't affect nearby wells. So we find we're actually making some compromise in our action, because we never asking for one well to do some studies.
We've never done what we've done before on this board that I know of.
Right.
So when we found out all the water problems on 331, we put together the working group to take a look at it, to try to do as much as we're allowed to do, whether it be under the code, but also under our seeker responsibilities. To do as much due diligence as we can and to come up with a possible solution. So this board has never, for the 10 years I've been on it,
Yeah,
It's never
so
done that.
it's compromise, and now we see them, they should be making compromise. We're making sure that if they're gonna drill a well, it's not gonna affect neighboring well. It's already in our decision, we're thinking about that.
Okay. Dave?
Well, just to elaborate on what Zorian is stating, the draft decision for consideration, third version from, we worked on with this small group that was researching this and others. The groundwater protection plan, never adopted, but directly referred in the town comprehensive plan now, so it's got standing. Had recommendations of a series of required documentation and filings for lots under 5, for subdivisions under 5 lots. So what Zorian's referencing is we put that in the proposed draft, that those filing requirements that are unusual, which we can get to when you read, if and when you read it tonight.
Okay.
There's this question of additional development, the liberalization of accessory dwelling units in the new code from November. There's a proposed prohibition in this for further subdivision for accessory dwelling units on these parcels, and also, to be discussed, but all this to be discussed still. And any conversion, which is also allowed in your code from 1 single family to 2 or 3 family, that's proposed to be prohibited.
In the decision.
In the draft decision you have, if you have now, and there's a statement that the 4 of us worked on, it's up for discussion, of an obligation that the applicant provide a professional opinion, that there's adequate water for the new house, as well as that the placement of that and use of that well is not expected to impact neighboring water supplies. So we have to talk about whether you're comfortable with.
Almost, we'll talk about it. It almost seems like closing the barn door when the horse is bolted.
Right, but instead of requiring, the alternative would be require a test. What's in front of you now is a requirement that a licensed professional state that it will be adequate. Whoever if that's an engineer or hydrogeologist or whoever.
We can talk about that more.
I did, and just to note, Rick asked me, and I did talk to the author of the groundwater protection plan, Steve Winkley today. We exchanged some emails. Interesting perspective. He's pleasantly surprised the plan's actually being used years later. It's been referenced at the time that he wasn't so confident that the town was going to use it, and it was even referenced that he walked away a bit angry, but I'm not sure that's fair, because he seems very straightforward now. He did say
he's looking for more business.
Well, he's willing to be hired to do by the way, he's now a colleague of Russell Urban Mead, who did the hydrogeological work for Meta and Atwater Social, right?
Okay.
Anyway, Steve said, feel free to say, quote unquote, I do not foresee subdivisions less than 5 being subject to the report's recommended standards.
And those standards were contained in the Appendix C, I think it was, which was a hydrogeological study for.
Right.
He also says the low yield areas need to be revisited. Today, he's confident about his recommendations related to the Esopus Shale, which is essentially the land underneath the current Aquifer Protection Overlay District. But what he referred to as the random scattered low yield areas were at the time based on limited information. And if he got one hit of a low yield well, he put a shape around it. And that's what the scattered ones are. He believes those need to be revisited. So that's today's information from the report author.
That's why we see that inconsistency. One well is high water, another well is low yield.
Well, based on our research, what was it, 17 months? Something like that?
Yeah,
Folks,
at least, yeah.
in that, in proximity to the low yield area that Winkley shaded years ago, in the Ridgeview Road area. The well drilling logs are all over the place.
Okay.
There are a relatively modest or shallow wells that are pretty free flowing and abundant, and there's some wells that are clearly low yield. And it's hard to resolve at this point. But we did discover, basically all academic research out there says in this region, you can have, because of the natural conditions of the bedrock, you can have an abundant well within feet of a low yield well, and it's luck of the draw.
Okay, anybody else from the board?
Yeah, I did a quick look on the parcel viewer and just identified maybe approximately 6 properties that are vacant now that are potentially buildable, would meet the requirements to build. And I'd just like to note that none of those properties, as I understand it, would be expected to do any sort of hydrogeological study. If they could go and apply to build a permit, put in a well tomorrow, correct?
Yes, your code today
Yeah.
allows people to construct a single family dwelling with just a building permit.
Right, so it seems to me onerous to require this applicant to have a standard that is not in effect to other houses or other properties that are right there. Already
Consistent. Yeah.
consistent, it's just a question, would be, as sympathetic as I am to low water, it's a tough one.
All right, the public hearing is still open. Does anybody else want to comment?
Brief clarification to members of the board. First of all, with respect to the 5 lot subdivision standard, 273 Ridgeview was subdivided into 4 properties. That's across 270 Ridgeview. So right now, I think we have, we consider what was intended at the time when you have these large lots, they're being subdivided down. And based upon the current level of development, we would be satisfying the 5 lot standard if we were viewing this, by segmentation. With respect to the vice chair's comment on consistency, this application is subject to seeker requirements. The building permit is not. And under seeker, that does require consideration of the environmental impacts that are here. So other opportunities may not come up for the seeker analysis, but now that seeker governs this subdivision, the appropriate review has to be conducted. I think the fact that there are vacant lots nearby actually shows the imperative. There's more than 5 that would satisfy Winkley's own standard for requiring a hydrogeological pump test, because there's more than 5 vacant lots that could be developed here. Thank you.
Okay. I don't agree with a lot of what you just said, and my point about the 5 from the study was she either didn't read the whole study or she chose to pick this sentence that allowed her to say you needed a hydrogeological study instead of what Mr. Winkley actually said, which was 5 or less, 5 or more for low well yields. And to suggest that because there's 5 lots available, that all of a sudden we've gotten to Winkley's point, those are lots that are separately owned by different people. They're not subdividing. They exist already as subdividable or buildable lots. So I reject what you just said.
The 5 lot standard is common in code.
Okay.
Because that's in many jurisdictions, Greg, you can correct me if I'm wrong. It's the minor major cutoff for subdivisions, which many codes and also health code makes a distinction between that, right?
Yes, it also falls into, even though it's not 5 lots or more would be considered public water supply if it was one single source. So it's kind of in the health department's purview that substantiates.
All right. Anybody else? Let's vote on the closing of the public hearing. We have let's just review who made the motion. Who made the motion? Rob?
The motion was made by Jen and second by Hans.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Chair votes yes, so 7-0. All right, so let's read the decision. You have a decision on the
Ask for a motion. Ask for motion. The decision.
You want to read it? Okay. I don't need a motion to read the decision. Go ahead. Dave, the
Number's 39, I got it now. Uncommon. Planning board decisions.
I assume that I have the latest decision here.
You want me to help you?
Why don't you read it, because
Okay.
we had so many versions of it, and you know what, let me get online.
You want me, I can
This is
start.
right off.
Want me to start, right?
No, I've got it,
Okay.
thank you. All right, so this is the minor subdivision approval for Mickenberg. And they're page 2 and half of page 3 of the documents. So I'm going to start reading on page 3 in the middle of the page.
On the first page, I just note there's a top date to correct to today. And the planning board, project numbers 2025-39.
And the date should be July 14th.
Or actually, it's 2024-39, sorry.
All right, whereas Matthew and Diana Mickenberg seek minor subdivision approval to create 2 residential lots from an existing and improved residential lot. Both lots will have access to Ridgeview Road, a town road. The existing residential lot will use existing driveway access. And the new lot will have access via a new driveway. And whereas the applicant submitted an application of zoning permit and classification to the town of Rochester. And whereas the CEO determined that the applicant had met zoning requirements and that it would require minor subdivision approval. And whereas the applicant submitted an application for such subdivision approval filed on November 25th, 2024. And whereas the applicant has made multiple appearances at planning board meetings, and whereas the planning board has carefully considered all submittals related to the project from the applicants and their consultants, its own consultants, comments and or approvals from public officials and agencies, including without limitation the code enforcement officer and the general public. And whereas at their June 9th meeting, the planning board reviewed the short environmental assessment form that was submitted, declared their intent to be lead agency as an unlisted action under SECR, and at the June 9th, 2025 meeting, also made a negative declaration that the project will not have a potential for significant adverse environmental impact based on a review of the SEAF parts 1 and 2 and other applicable documents. And whereas at their June 9th, 2025 meeting, the planning board approved a written request from the applicant to waive certain requirements of town subdivision regulation 125-11 regarding the requirement for both residential lots to share a narrow strip of land, also known as a flag, for road access, as such sharing would result in unnecessary land disturbance and removal of trees, given that an existing dwelling on site has its own existing improved access. And whereas at their March 31st, 2025 meeting, the planning board opened a public hearing on this application and received comments concerning adequate groundwater in the Ridgeview Road neighborhood, and held a public hearing open to the meeting of June 9th, when no additional comments were received. Dave, this should say open to the meeting of, all right, June 9th. With no
Kept it open on June 9th. It's trying to say kept it open on June 9th. Kept it open on July 14th, June 23rd, and to today, June 9th, 14th.
Okay, but we need to make sure that there were comments received. There were no comments received on June 9th. There were no comments on the 23rd, but there were comments on July 14th.
Well, you didn't get comments in the hearing, but you got written comment
Oh, yeah.
between the hearings.
Yeah.
I don't know how you characterize. It's your I defer to you two on how you deal with emails between meetings.
Well, I would say the way the sentence is structured now, it runs the risk of being factually correct and conveying the incorrect meaning. In fact, there's, up until now, we've received comments, as my memory is both oral and written, and so we ought to record that and not worry about the dates, because the point is we've heard comments, and that's important to record. Saying that we haven't heard any, first of all, I'm not sure if it's true, and second of all, saying that we haven't heard comments at a particular set of meetings is.
Well, we haven't heard verbal comments on the 9th or the 23rd, that's true, but we have had in numerous.
The public has had opportunity to comment and has commented.
So why don't we just say,
In fact, all the comments are recorded in the list of documents received. So above that, you could probably rewrite it to say, held the hearing open till today.
Yeah, so in my experience, what we would do is state how long the public comment period was open. So it opened on this date and it closed on this date. Public hearings were held on whatever our planning board meeting dates are. And then you covered both the written window and the opportunity for public.
That's fine, thank you.
you okay with that?
I'll, yeah, keep reading. I'll try to fix that and I'll read it back to you in
Okay,
a few minutes.
thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Okay, whereas based on said public comment received by the planning board, both during a scheduled public hearing and in writing, as well as planning board's understanding of the importance of adequate water supply in application reviews, the planning board took a series of steps to research and respond to issues raised with the proposed application related to adequacy of water supply on the subject property and in the surrounding neighborhood. First, the planning board discussed this issue in a series of public planning board meetings in 2025, including on January 13th, February 10th, March 31st, June 9th, June 23rd, and July 14th. Second, 3 members of the planning board with relevant experience and staff support from the town planner volunteered to research water supply issues further and to return to the full planning board with recommendations, which they did as noted in the specific conditions stated below. Third, the planning board, with support of the aforementioned 3 members and town planner, reviewed 4 important documents or data sets. 1, the 2006 comprehensive plan, specifically page 9 through 12 on environmental quality. 2, the 2006 draft groundwater protection plan for the town of Rochester, done by New York Rural Water Association, specifically text and maps on low yield areas and on recommendations for subdivision approvals and lot sizes. 3, groundwater resources of Orange and Ulster counties, New York Geological Survey water supply paper from 1985, Michael Frimpter, USGS or US Government Printing Office. And 4, New York State GIS Clearinghouse water well data set, notably water well logs in town of Rochester in the vicinity of subject property. Additionally, planning board members and/or town planners spoke with representatives of the Ulster County Health Department as well as licensed hydrogeologists active in the region to gain insight into appropriate actions for ensuring adequacy of water supply, including avoidance of impact to neighboring properties when reviewing minor subdivisions. And planning board members reviewed and referenced hydrogeological research study and findings completed for other larger scale project applications considered by said planning board. This information collectively informed these findings. First, groundwater resources throughout the town and region can be naturally unpredictable from location to location, even in very close proximity. Second, the large majority of documented wells in the town and in the subject property neighborhood are adequate in terms of both water quantity and quality. Third, the Ulster County Health Department has primary jurisdiction to professionally review and permit water supply wells using codified procedures and standards. Fourth, small scale development consisting, need to change that, Dave, of 1 additional well, such as relevant here, can be subject to certain approval conditions and will be subject to Ulster County Health Department permitting. The planning board's research and position found that 1 additional well is not likely to impact neighboring groundwater conditions with proper compliance with application filings and with dimensional zoning standards codified by the town, with compliance with the set of recommendations from the town groundwater protection plan, and with permits following Ulster County Health Code requirements. Fifth, as per the Town Groundwater Protection Plan and 2024 Town Zoning Code updates, lot sizes of 2 or 3 acres are recommended in the subject property neighborhood to ensure adequacy of groundwater use and recharge. The proposed application is limited to an existing dwelling with well on a 2-acre lot and a proposed 3-acre lot and new dwelling, both meeting this 2 or 3 acre recommendation. Under the Town of Rochester subdivision regulations 125-13B, 5 and 6, the planning board has an obligation with minor subdivision applications to ensure documentation of the type of water supply and sewer system proposed. The adequacy of such supply and system is a complementary and primary role of Ulster County Health Department, whose approval is a condition of this decision. Set of recommendations on groundwater found that water well yields and depths are known to be variable and unpredictable from location to location, even in close proximity, as documented by both a review of New York State DEC water well data and by report of Michael Frimter in his Groundwater Resources of Orange and Ulster Counties. As such, the planning board recommendations include filing project water well drilling logs with New York State DEC and the town, filing Ulster County Health Department required permits for the new lot proposed within the town, and further research by the planning board and recommendations for town action to better address emerging but not yet defined possible groundwater constraints in some neighborhoods of the town. Now here and therefore be it resolved that the Town of Rochester Planning Board hereby finds that this application complies with the criteria for approval in chapters 125 and 140 of the Town Code and with all other applicable provisions of the Town Code, and hereby approves the project as depicted in minor subdivision plan, Mickenbury subdivision prepared by Willingham Engineering, dated 11/17/2025 with revisions.
That should be
dated
24.
With revisions dated 12/30/24, 1/27/25, and subject to the attached conditions. I'm not going to read the general conditions of approval. They're standard. I'm going to jump to page 6, the specific conditions of approval. 1, a final subdivision map plat shall be provided consistent with the sketch plan noted above and consistent with all conditions of this approval. All surveys and engineers' notes on final map submitted must be followed in the field. Documentation of all relevant and required and approved Ulster County Health Department permits shall be provided to the planning board chair prior to signature by said chair of the final subdivision plat. 4, consistent with the town groundwater protection plan recommendations for subdivisions under 5 lots. The application shall include the filing of final subdivision plat showing a single proposed well in relation to key landscape and site features. The applicant is required to file with New York State DEC a well completion report for any new well on site consistent with New York State DEC Water Wells Registry as per the applicable law, and any and all water quality tests performed on site along with water supply design details such as pump, storage, and treatment systems must be filed with the town code enforcement officer prior to any new certificate of occupancy being issued for the subject property. 5, in order to limit future expansion of water dependent uses on site, given the proximity of a potential low yield water area, the final subdivision plat shall show a note prohibiting further subdivision and prohibiting additional dwellings on either of the 2 lots, including but not limited to any 2-family dwelling or accessory dwelling units without prior approval from the planning board. So Matt, that applies. Right now, they can go to the building department and get those kind of permits to change the occupancy as well as the ADU, what I call the ADU. You won't be able to, if they won't be able to do that, they have to come back here to do that. 6, the applicant shall file with the town planning board prior to signature of final subdivision plat by the chair. Statement from a licensed engineer, hydrogeologist, or comparable professional that to the best of their knowledge, occupancy of the new lot and dwelling proposed will have adequate water supply, will be compliant with New York State and Ulster County health codes, and will not be expected to impact adequacy of current water supply on neighboring property. 7, the applicant shall comply with any and all comments from the Accord Fire Company and or the town of Rochester Fire Inspector,
This should be fire district.
Fire District. 8, the applicant shall present an Ulster County Health Department permit for new septic system, for a new septic system prior to planning board chair signing the final subdivision plan, as well as provide written approval for the town highway superintendent for the new driveway access proposed. And the applicant shall present a final subdivision plan for signature. The town of Rochester Planning Board further grants authority to the chairman to certify that these conditions have been met, at which time the chairman is authorized to sign and date the plan without further resolution by the planning board. This final subdivision approval shall expire 180 days from this approval date, unless all conditions are satisfied and certified as completed. This period may be extended for 2 additional 90-day periods upon application to and approval by the town of Rochester Planning Board. Effective approval: 1, the owner shall file for signature and certification in the office of Ulster County Clerk 6 approved plot plans and 1 Mylar bearing the chairman's signature and any other related documents within 62 days from the date of the chairman's signature, where such approval shall be deemed to expire without further notice in accordance with New York State Town Law, Section 276. 2, the owner shall have the responsibility to return 5 certified copies of this final plat, and any other related documents to the town of Rochester Planning Board within 30 days of such filing. 3 of these maps will be retained by the planning board, the other 2 retained by the applicant. I'm going to stop there for a minute. Dave, did you redo that paragraph that Jennifer?
I tried,
Do you feel
I heard my
comfortable reading
name.
it, or do you want?
and I heard my name in the middle of it. Let me read what I got here.
Okay.
Just a point of order under the open meetings law, this document was not provided to the community. The
I'm sorry,
applicant-
sir, the public hearing has been closed. There is no more comment from the public. Please abide by my instructions. Go ahead, Dave.
Where were you gonna find me, right? Whereas at the March 31st, 2025 meeting, the planning board opened a public hearing and held said hearing open until July 14th, 2025 on this application. The planning board received comments concerning various matters, including procedural compliance, as well as adequacy of groundwater in the Ridgeview Road neighborhood. The public hearing was closed on July 14th, 2025, and a final decision was read.
It says acceptable. Draft resolution was prepared by the chairman and or town planner, was read and discussed as needed by the planning board in a public meeting at the time and place of adoption. I'll accept a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
Jennifer? Seconded
Second.
on seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Anybody against? It's approved 70-0. Okay, Dave, we need to get the final glory adjustments made. Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break. The next project, Glasgow, they drew tonight. And so did Pine Grove, which I mentioned already. So we have 3 more to go. All right, we'll take a 10-minute break.
Okay, so. At least you know they had it here. Better than expected. Yeah, so they want to tonight. We're down 5 stuff already. Oh, it's really 600.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, no, right. Always. Yeah, I wanted. I gotta try this. For the public.
Oh, this is law.
I was still one of my best efforts, these things resolved. It was slower.
Everybody's.
Yeah, I just don't know. I know some work positive.
Thinks they're a lawyer.
I guess why they're gonna just say, hey, they don't this.
Now, one of the things.
No, Pine Grove was canceled, they canceled, right? It'll be the next meeting, 28th. And, you can go. Sure. Yeah, we'll go. Okay. Yes, you got this home. Okay. Got over that. All right. Pleasure. Okay, thank you.
Maybe see you
Hey,
guys.
Dave.
Yeah, I know.
I just, I wanted to make room for Verizon.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dave, he's got this. It's this, if you're gonna if there's a document. You're supposed to have maybe
One request.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't know how to answer this. It's functional website project. I mean, we're getting.
Was the document available?
No, the version that I read was gone. I don't read 12 hours. 12 hours ago.
Right, so here's my, I've been over this data and this one.
You know, when I earlier version, not shared with everybody.
What I heard of both of these, there's a number of issues. Like Dave said, it was untidy. There's a lot of untidy. And it's not just unresolved things. There were things that, and I had a long talk with Rick over the weekend, I just spoke it out. About some of these things. Whatever I kind of heard, they were all.
Keep talking about things that go.
Okay. I mean, he, I would go.
There's a lot of stuff.
We're also doing things especially with around and help see how it goes. I mean, we're. Look at this. The operative one, I just see. But the only thing that's important is. Before I say anything, I want to say, I don't know. Science. But to me, it's a lot of the brain power that when primarily some of the other stuff. We're gonna have to regulate. Well, paid. People in LA. It's not what.
Yeah. Okay, there's no way to know that without.
Fair enough, but. If we, things can into ourselves, a certain number. In other words, we're making. Recommendation on. It was part of it, it's part of we have to from one of our jobs. Our job is not to make recommendations because they have. Our job is whether welfare is going to.
Sure.
At least understand, and arguably also under whatever they care about. And to go back. There's a number of layers and stuff like that that we No.
I had a lot.
At least I think that's some like.
I didn't even want to be to it.
Yes, I know.
That's regret.
We'll see what happens.
So, and do you raise another one, is the availability of the document? And is once we think about it, we didn't have 20 hours, we have 12 hours of it, somebody asked for it, so we don't have to do it. But we also have an order copy that we have. We don't have some mechanism for that. Available, so we can go over ourselves and I can. That gets outside, which is section.
Oh, the minute. Right. So which is that, there's a clause. Oh, it's not, oh, it's specific to video games.
That's the way I read it.
All right.
Other than some places. Why is
I had, over the weekend, I had like.
Yeah, go give it to him right now, it's really. Hurry, I got maps for you.
For me?
Nagoita,
She's gonna come pick them up.
I just became.
she's picking them up.
Yeah.
We bring them to the county.
She is.
I'm not.
Okay.
I don't use that. I
I
don't
think
provide that.
compromise is good.
You have a bed service.
No, you should get there if somebody has to pay the taxes, but then I gotta run around six taxes down.
Yes. Yo.
I'll let her know though.
Who are we missing?
Oh, we go.
Oh, okay, we'll just go here. The next project on the agenda is Scott Field and Roseanne Sasso Act Board. Terry Ringler's representative. Do we have those maps out there?
Thing I have, it should be, but it's, you have to dig a little bit.
You have the maps?
Yep, I have one.
You
Yeah,
have-
they're like-
okay.
they're under Robbie House. Dylan.
Should be in there, that's it. I know it because that's the way Terry folds his maps. Okay, talk to me.
Yeah.
Terry, go
Ready?
Yeah.
right.
So
So Mr. Field and Ms. Sasso would like to. There's a 20-foot right of way that's shown on here that goes to the Ackwood Rural Cemetery through their front yard. The cemetery no longer uses it because they purchased the property off of Schoolmakers and put their own road in and such forth. The original boundary line is basically the back corner of their shed, the Ackwood Rural Cemetery shed. So they've reached agreement to dissolve the right of way. Just through a deed, has nothing to do with the planning process. In exchange for, is that 20-foot strip? This has been so long ago since we made this map. Yeah, for a 20-foot strip along the rear of the Sasso Fields property. In addition, Sasso's field want to put up a garage, but where they want to put the garage, it interferes with their two adjacent lot lines, so they would like to dissolve the lot lines between their two properties and combine them into one.
I need the big map to see because I can't see it in the small map. We did
So if you see where the house is,
So these two are being combined.
right, so there's a lot to be removed. The parcel A is being combined, parcel B is being combined into parcel A because that's the one that has the address. Okay, so we're combining, parcel B to parcel A, removing the lot lines between them. And then to the northeast portion of the property,
we're adding 20 feet to Aqua Girl Cemetery. To give them more buffer behind their shed,
And they have parcel D.
their parcel D.
Okay, so they used to come through their property.
Right.
Okay, got it. Now they come.
Now they have their own road that's shown
Okay,
to the north.
so you're dissolving the lot lines between A and B.
Yep.
And you're adding a lot line.
Well,
Or
we're
you're
adjusting
pushing
the
them.
lot line of Aqua Girl Cemetery a little bit west, 20 feet west to give a better buffer for their building and.
Okay.
So this right here.
And so parcel C is,
Parcel C is also owned by Saxo and Field.
okay,
But it's not changing anything.
Well, we're taking that little tiny piece off of
the back corner.
that corner because we're
East corner.
extending the whole westerly boundary of Aqua Girl Cemetery to get 20 feet across the whole boundary of that. So that's affecting
Oh, I
two
see.
parcels of,
So
Field
C is
track.
losing a little strip.
just a tiny bit.
Okay, I got it. Everybody,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's all we're doing.
that's all you're doing. Okay.
That's it.
Anybody have any questions?
No.
Anybody have questions? Okay, so it's a type 2, so we don't have to do any kind of seeker. That's the end of that. We don't have to do a public hearing. We don't have a decision for you tonight. But we will have it for the 28th.
I will be here. Just let you know, I'm gonna be fishing a salmon tournament, so I'm not gonna be here.
Is anybody gonna come?
No.
No. All right, so we can do it.
Yeah.
And then I'll get in touch with you, get you the decision, we'll get the map, et cetera, et cetera. So Dave, could you take care of doing the decision for this, for the planning? It's much simpler than some of the others. Thank you, Terry.
They're the only ones I'm taking anymore.
Where are you going? What'd you say, salmon fishing?
Yes,
Alaska?
Where?
be fishing out of Mexico Bay. We were just up there this whole weekend and it was horrible, but we figured out what's going on.
Mexico Bay is.
Right.
Lake Ontario.
But yeah.
Oh, okay.
Alaska.
5 miles. It's west of Alaska.
All right, I think we've done everything we have to legally do for this one. We'll have the decision for
Ranger.
next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
That where they have it.
All right, next.
If they were
Thank you,
all
Terry.
Good
fishing.
Do well.
Bill Akers, the next one is Goodman. Goodman Landholder.
I probably should fall. Okay, we'll watch it, but I have more time.
Okay, Bill, talk to us.
All right. What we have here is 195 acres of land in the town of Warsing.
You're in the wrong town.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I knew I had the wrong night. So out of that 195 acres, or actually it's a little more than that. There is a application to subdivide 11 acres out of that. In the town of Warsing. So this has been going through the town of Warsing, the planning board for I don't know, a year or more. Had some detours and roundabouts with it and everything, but they've kind of finally come to terms with the original plan here was there's this an old road, old Broadhead Road, it was a historical old road that runs from Cherrytown Road in Rochester down to Old Queens Highway, which is off of Turkey Hill Road in Warsing. They were going to use that existing old road to access this 10 acres. However, it's not maintained by the town. It's not a public road. It's a historic road in there. They have a right of way over it. But in order to do the subdivision, the planning board said that they would have to improve that road to town road specifications. And they would have to have the approval of all those intervening property owners in order to do so. There was the rub. Not all of them agreed. Some of them were great with it, say, oh, good, somebody finally fixed my road. Others said, we don't want a road here at all, we like our woods. So after 6 months of going through that and the board saying, there's nothing we can do. This is after we had gone and got local development approval from the town board and everything. They said, okay, how about we just completely go the other direction and use our existing driveway that comes off of Cherrytown Road all the way through the whole length of this property to get to our little lot that we want to put a little 2-bedroom house on. So that's gone through the whole process through the town of Wawarsing Planning Board. They're essentially at the point of they've gone through the public hearing, had the only public that came out there were people that were welcoming them to the neighborhood and said, this sounds great. No problems at all from the town of Wawarsing side. They've closed the public hearing. They've directed their planner to write up the resolution. And they've just been waiting to figure out, well, what do we do about the access from Rochester? The planning board attorney for the town of Wawarsing, who is also the town attorney for Rochester, said, well, you need to go and put an application in or get a determination from the code enforcement office in Rochester. We did so. They said, yep, it's a subdivision. Yeah, we knew that. So we said, what do we do now? Well, go talk to the planning board. So here we are. That's how we got here. That's not how I would have got here. I would have just said, hey, you guys good with this? Thanks, goodbye. Yeah. I look on county viewer, and that portion identified as a old Cherrytown Road, existing road. Oh, the old road going through here? On Rochester side. Mm-hmm. So I'm not clear what permit, there is a road there already. Well, it's not, I mean, it's a historic road. Like I said, it used to go all the way through. We have old maps, old deeds from back in the 1700s that refer to this road. But it doesn't meet the standards of, and we're doing a subdivision. So they have the owner of the property owns the whole thing. He's going to grant a right of way over this to get to this existing lot. It's already a 20-foot wide road. Their building inspector has looked at the road, said it looks great. We're good with the road as it is. But we need to get feedback from Rochester because we're using their road frontage to come in. We just need to see if they have any issues with it.
So, for either you or the CEO or the folks in Wawarsing who sent you here, what is it jurisdictionally, like lawyers speak, that you are contemplating that this board does? Is it a subdivision approval? Is it a comment letter to Wawarsing? Is it an involved agency? And see what jurisdictionally, what are we doing?
Depends on who you ask. Ask me, I want a comment letter.
What does the CEO say?
So CEO said, yeah, that's a subdivision, signed off on their little
Our CEO says we need to do subdivision.
no, they said it's a subdivision.
The CEO letter says that the two lot minor subdivision.
That we have to approve.
Yeah.
That's what the CEO.
Yeah,
letter
but
says.
it's Wawarsing territory.
Well, the CEO says it, we're kind of bound by it unless somebody appeals that or otherwise gets them to change their mind, or that's, if we don't like it, we can appeal it to the ZBA, but he frames what we do here.
Yeah, actually, that was the acting, whoever they had in the office at that time, because they didn't have a CEO.
So let's assume that it is,
Hired.
let's assume that it's a subdivision.
Yeah.
And we go through the subdivision process.
Slow down. First is, that's subject to seeker. How far has the Wawarsing planning board gotten on seeker?
Hold on.
They neglected it.
Yeah.
So we have an uncoordinated review that we've got to do a seeker review on. They could send us all their stuff. Bill, they could send us their material so we can
Sure.
crib off of it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've got to do seeker review, we've got to do subdivision approval. Have you applied for subdivision approval?
Yeah, it's completely, like I just said, they are ready to, at
No,
the
no.
meeting,
Have you applied to
subdivision here, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we put an application for subdivision because
Okay.
we didn't know what else to do.
That's what we're.
And nobody knew how to handle this. I've dealt with this in other towns where there was something that was. Something in one town, and lands that went across the town line like this. All they did was a simple referral to the other board and say, you have an issue with this, and they were fine. But. The attorney for the planning board, who was the town attorney in Rochester, said, you need to send it to the board. And she didn't say, she said, send it to the code enforcement office for their determination of.
And he determined we needed subdivision.
And he said, let's see, on my thing here, it says. I can say that it's a special use permit, or it's a use that's permitted. Or a building permit, or a miscellaneous permit, or site plan approval. Check the box, this is my choices, we checked off, it's a subdivision.
So can I just note that like the majority of this is in the town of Worsing. I don't believe that we have jurisdiction in the town of Worsing, so our site plan approval would not be subject to any of the properties in the town of Worsing. So I guess we can.
Doesn't make any sense.
That's in.
How can you approve subdividing 10 acres that's not in your town?
Yeah, and it's an existing driveway and existing curb cut, which would be the only thing that.
So why don't I refer it back to the CEO, the new CEO. And just say, we don't agree,
Rethink about this again, go back and do some more homework.
we don't agree with you, we believe that all that's necessary is for a letter.
Doesn't make sense.
I think the only thing that I would be concerned with. Is the driveway on Cherrytown. Site distance, size of the, is it 50 foot?
Let's see, yeah, there's a 50 foot of frontage there. The
50
driveway
foot,
20
site
feet wide.
distance is okay,
Mhm.
okay, and there's no further subdivision, the only thing. I'm okay with sending something to them saying, no, this is just a letter, and in that letter, we say something like. If there's any further subdivision that occurs to this property, we want it back to us,
Absolutely, yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense? It doesn't make any sense to go through all this other stuff, it's gonna take us up 2 months.
I mean, unfortunately, in this life, I'm a lawyer and under the.
I thought you were.
No, I could.
Imagine, yeah.
Yeah, I know what the CEO said, we can kind of do something else, but the one thing that I was thinking about as you were saying this, if we did raise a question to the CEO. The CEO would probably want legal assistance in interpreting this, and the CEO would turn to his lawyer. Who has already opined on this wearing a different hat, right?
Well, did she say it's a subdivision or just send it to the CEO?
She said, send it to the CEO.
Yeah. Okay.
She didn't say it needs to go to the planning board.
All right.
She didn't
Use
say
your
it-
judgment.
All right, so what we're gonna do, Dave,
Nobody knows what to do with it.
Who's gonna want to meet with me?
say that again.
Mike's gonna want to.
So all I want you to
In
do,
the absence of Mary Liz.
There's already a process by which Mike is on a learning curve with the code.
Great.
He's a building
I'm
code.
happy to let Dave solve it.
Dave, go to him and say,
Yeah,
we want to do this
the
different.
only thing that comes into my head is no provision. I'm having it as I know council.
Hang on, Bill.
You know that just be that means. I park. Regular grind now, but. You can't approve something. Accessing from the. Now, unless it's allowed. in your
Using
county.
that Warren Plansky's on all three sides of it.
Oh, he's representing all three?
I mean, he's representing everybody. He talked the town of Rhinebeck into opposing the project.
It sounds like it makes sense to re-refer it.
So. would
Now
you
that you
talk-
have a actual appointed code enforcement officer, right?
So would you talk to the code enforcement officer?
Yep.
And if you need a letter from me to say,
Although
this
I know
doesn't make any-
council, we need the planning board to agree further, right?
sure, you write the letter. I'll sign it,
Okay.
we'll accomplish this.
You can
I
do
can
it.
just
informally.
do it?
You could say, think about.
Okay.
We want to do this.
No, I send a letter, just write a letter, it's one paragraph, I'll sign it electronically. You go into it and have him redo it.
Or I can email and copy you and you can.
And I'm sure what he'll say is yes, and the only thing that I want in this agreement is if there's any further subdivision that has to come back to us.
Yeah.
You mentioned, how many owners are there? Is the Goodman with lot one? Who owns lot two?
You gotta look.
The big
Well,
lot.
Goodman is the subdivider, he owns the whole thing.
Oh, he owns the whole thing.
Right.
Just-
Oh,
So he's cutting out the 1 acre to convey to, he's got quite an agricultural operation in here. So his farm manager is going to live in a small house on lot 1. The rest of it, they're putting major, they're planting fruit trees and nut trees and everything. Goodman may eventually build a house for himself on the remaining land. Beyond that, they have absolutely no plans to further develop this.
By the way, are we confident that there's no chance of any adverse environmental impact in Rochester on this? I mean, either
the road's already there.
well, the road's being improved, right? I mean.
No,
Oh, it's not.
It's not, there's a 20-foot wide gravel road all the way through.
Nobody's gonna change that.
No.
Okay.
And that part called Old Cherrytown Road, right?
At least a portion of it is over what was the old Cherrytown Road, or the old, we've seen it in old deeds, it's called the old Broadhead Road.
And
There's
there's no,
also on County View.
Where?
Old Cherrytown Road.
Bill, I know you've been talking to the planning board at the other end. So you can tell them that we're gonna try to get it done more simply. But we're gonna want a couple of things on the map. Which brings up the question, do we need to have a signed map from for the Rochester portion? But we're gonna want something on the map that says, if there's any further subdivision of lot 1 or 2, it needs to come back to us as well.
lot one.
Not lot 2.
Reason why is that? Because of the.
We're gonna need,
Why would you need, how can we, what jurisdiction do we have if lot 2 is subdivided in Warson?
well, there'll be more traffic coming on that.
Well, so, yeah, and, is there no, just to be clear, there's no physical changes to that bridge over the creek?
That's correct, that's already there, great big culvert in there, 5-foot diameter culvert. And unless they were to go for a variance, they can't further subdivide lot 1 because that's the minimum lot size of 10 acres.
10 acres?
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, 10 acres, okay, that one.
So,
Okay.
all
I
right.
have a question.
Yeah.
Is I mean, I always think to fire.
Yeah.
Because this is a 181 Cherrytown Road, which probably Accord
That's
Fire
a question for you too.
I know, it's
You guys handle Cherrytown Road there?
yeah, but I don't, but it's in town, where I'm not
Right.
clear of the fire district boundary there. So it's something I wanna bring up and research. And then also, if there is a bridge involved, is that the only structure that's gonna be back there?
Yes,
Um,
well, for now, unless Goodman decides sometime in the future to build a house for himself.
Right, so would the town of Warsing or the Napanock Fire District, would they verify that that bridge can handle a fire truck? Is there a rating on the bridge or
It's not a bridge, it's a.
just a culvert?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's big enough, right? Yeah. So that's, I mean, it's kind of, we have places in, that are in the town of Rochester that are covered by other fire departments because they're like up in Denning.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and so we have a mutual aid agreement there. So it's certainly not insurmountable thing. It's just a question that's running through my mind and I'll research.
So Peter, if assuming that we can just do it by a letter.
Yeah.
Then you would just talk to Napanock and.
Yeah, just,
Yeah. I think it's actually Bronson.
it's correct, yeah.
Okay, Bill. So we'll talk to the CEO the next day.
Okay.
But we're gonna want a note on the map that Wawarsing has. That says any further subdivision has to come back. to
Yes,
us.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I don't, what jurisdiction do we have over subdivision in?
Well, then they
Well,
have,
for traffic purposes.
they might
I
have
understand
to,
why we might be interested, what jurisdiction do we have?
To ask for them to do that? We have no jurisdiction, but if they're gonna increase the amount of traffic, we may have something to say about it.
well, it's possible if additional lots might trigger road improvements. And the road improvement would be in
Okay,
the town of Rochester, right?
Yeah,
At
first
least some of
How
it.
big is that lot, Bill, lot one?
11 acres.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How much,
question,
how much is in Rochester, Bill?
194.6.
no,
In Rochester,
That's the-
the Rochester section of it is about 10 acres.
So 194, and what's the zoning in Warsing?
Warsing zoning is 10 acres. I'm not sure what it would be on a Rochester.
So they could
side.
get like, they could conceivably put in like 15 lots?
Well,
No, it's three.
it's probably
It's
three.
there.
Because of the landscape?
Well, you got the road through the middle, you got the creek,
I don't know.
2 or 3 lots maybe.
All right, we're gonna try to make it easier.
okay. That would be wonderful.
All right,
Greatly appreciate that.
you're done.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the last project that I just saw some people came in, we only have one more project to do. Rav Tov was, they chose not to be here tonight, that's what you were here for? Or also known as Pine Grove, or you're here for this project? Oh, okay, sorry, okay.
Oh.
Okay.
There's that, folks. We're gonna come out. Couldn't stay away. They were zooming too. This is Mr. Goodman.
Oh, okay, hi.
He heard you put on a good show, Bill.
Consistent.
All right, Bill, so we'll see what happens and then.
Okay. Very good, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Bye.
Okay, last but not least,
We know, Pat, my bad now.
Well, that's my details.
well, you can go home. Cindy's more than capable of taking care of this.
Okay.
No.
We have maps for this one?
It's on the bottom pile.
Okay.
Right up, just grab right at the bottom, please. Where do we have? You have 2 maps, one's a.
Yep. So there's 2 maps and there's a narrative also. The reason there's actually is 4 sets of documents, a narrative. There's a map for the LLI. They're handling this as 2 actions, and I'll let you go into that in a section. So a lot line, eliminating the line between the lots to make one bigger lot. And then a site plan. Map, and then architecturals that are also attached. So again, our CEO typed this in such a way, it's 2 lots coming together. So as opposed to dividing 2 lots and having a subdivision, it's an unsubdivision, it's unsubdivided. So we have the lot line, the elimination of the lines, and then a site plan for what you're doing on the new lot. So Cindy or John, I'll let you describe what you're doing.
Give you a brief description here. I'm Cindy Landon Graham and this is John Dawson. We're both longtime residents of Cohonson. We're here in front of you folks tonight for site plan approval for a parcel that we own on Millbrook Road in Ackland. The lot is a pre-existing non-conforming lot. It actually is 2 lots. That's another part of our action. It has electric on it, an electric service that's active, we pay the bill on every month. And an engineer inspected septic and well that are also present on it from the old 2.5 story, 4-bedroom, 2-bath home that burned down several years ago. Let's see. The 2 lots that we own are contiguous. And we are combining them. You see in your packages, there are 2 maps. One map has colors on it. We'll get to that one in a few minutes. But the other map shows the 2 parcels that we're combining to make one larger improved parcel. Okay,
Cindy, would you address the zoning in this area and whether or not you're now in compliance with the zoning or you're better, but
it's
not?
R2.
Okay.
Actually, and that says on our application, it's
Yeah.
R2 zoning, but we will never be 2 acres there. We are 1.06. Once we combine the lot, it was smaller before when the house was there. So the best we can do is combine the 2 lots to make it that. That's why it is pre-existing non-conforming. And the inspector sent us to you for site plan review. Okay,
We can rebuild to a 2.5 story home as it was right there, but we only do ADA home, we only do.
Okay.
it's our intention to build an ADA accessible home on this now larger combined lot after we approve the lot line revisions. And it will have 2 bedrooms, a home office, and 2 baths with an open floor plan. As older people ourselves, we firmly believe in making all homes ADA accessible so that everyone, including people with limited mobility, can enjoy staying in their home for as long as possible. We have designed this home to have privacy despite its only being 30 feet from the roadway. The home will take advantage of the beautiful streamside view, which will be seen from all rooms except baths. The home is designed to be very energy efficient, meeting and exceeding insulation values, as well as offering in-floor heat coupled with cold climate heat pumps. The exterior will be low to no maintenance and aesthetically pleasing for the neighborhood. There's a little packet in there that has drawings and elevations that we have submitted. This is not your typical homes on a full concrete foundation. Because of possible flooding as defined by the Ulster County map overlays, we are proposing to build an engineered pole type building designed specifically for this site. The ground floor living levels will be over 13 feet above the stream's water level. And actually, that was taken from the bank, and the stream is well below the bank at this point, so it's more than that. This means that the home will be out of the floodplain, and that once the ground floor living level elevation is established, homeowners will not need to pay flood insurance or worry about damage from any creek rising events. Mr. Dawson and I have built many homes in our town for over 30 years. And we've also done many pole buildings, also known as barndominiums. In fact, we live in one ourselves. They're economical and handsome with very little maintenance. And we thought this method of building would be perfect for this lot and
And you
location.
said barn dominium?
Barn dominium. It's a thing. So
Okay.
Wanna buy one?
Maybe.
they're pretty nice. We live in one ourselves, no stairs. So basically, if you look at the pack that I sent you, there's a bunch of pictures in there. And I have,
The home will be street though.
I have a couple more pictures of the older home that was there that I found.
The reason we're here is we didn't, the person who lived there, there's a camper on the property. After the home burnt down, we didn't work from, him and son lived in the camper. I hooked them up with a home and, it wasn't rebuilt within 8 years. And that's why we couldn't get building to the building department and say we want to change the size. You can build what was there, but because we want to change the size,
Just one
those
more there,
that you have to do site. plan.
and that's the back.
What's there, everything is
So this usually flood. Creek is over here.
The home that was there is never flooded. The building right beside the creek, but the creek is actually pretty much below it. And the land adjacent from it is lower than our land. It floods the field and actually.
So where's the limits of the flooding, Cindy?
Yeah.
The yellow lines, the yellow squiggly lines on the map show the upper limits of the, what did they call it, 100-year flood? The worst map overlay I could find.
Cindy, explain, the creek is is on the bottom of the map,
The creek is on the bottom of the map where it says Rochester Creek,
and the squiggly lines,
and the yellow squiggly lines. They correlate to another photograph from, not a photograph, a printout. From the Ulster County street maps that actually show the floodplain overlay as well.
so it's between the yellow lines is the floodplain?
Yes, the 100-year flood. If you look at the map here, there's a yellow line here that comes way up. A yellow line in the midpoint. Sorry, I'll be the bulletin board.
And then a little one way down here. And if you kind of went like this,
So we drew a diagonal line
Drew a
between the
diagonal.
tips.
connected them. That is what they say the 100-year flood area is.
Okay,
Now-
so connect the tips of each of the yellow lines with a diagonal line going from left to right.
Right.
And that's the limit of the floodplain.
Of the floodplain.
And that's the reason why you're building it up, I'll call them stilts, but pylon
Yeah.
stilts,
Yes.
not breakaways, but stilts.
Stilts on pole.
Okay.
They would be 6 by 6 and 6 by 8. Marine grade for submersion. Like you would use for pilings, if you were building a dock, that's what they use.
The roadside would be ground level, but
Right.
the creek side
Would be raised.
Right. If you look at the pictures that I just handed out of the old house, you see the concrete foundation there. And you can see the back side that faces the stream. The actual physical back door level of the house, I guess you would call it, would actually be above that slightly. because
Your
that-
building would be above that.
Above that by approximately 18 to 24 inches.
Okay. Questions from the board? So here's,
yeah, have you approached the DEC about the septic field? So that's
It's been, the septic field is in. It is
Pre-existing.
pre-existing, and we have a letter from an engineer contained in your packet. Ascertaining the viability of the septic.
Yes, we had it pumped and had it checked out. And
But it was flooded.
The well and the septic are both there from the original dwelling.
And electric, I actually put the electric in 25 years ago.
Yeah, it was the second file I see.
But when the septic is flooded.
As it's flooded.
It's flooded.
No, the water's never, in the history of that home and families lived there, water has never went in that yard. It's, it's just, how flood FEMA is with the flood map. And we anticipate, but it goes uphill as it goes, as the property gets narrower, that's actually uphill down this way.
Right, where the
Sort of
long,
fragments.
where the long squiggly line is, that's the low area.
Yeah, that's where it floods.
As you go to the smaller portion of the property towards Metcalfon's Road, if the property actually goes uphill.
To the right.
Right. So the area that the septic is in is higher than the area where, quite a bit higher actually, than where the long squiggly line is.
And I've done, throughout the years, many a home in many places. I've worked with the health department quite a bit. And that, anyway, they don't care about that. They prefer a wet septic area versus a dry because it leaches better than coming up.
And also, if we chose to, the building department right now would allow us to put a dwelling on this property that did not exceed the size of the 26 by 26 home that was there now. But we don't want to do a 2 or 2.5 story home. We want to do something that is accessible and is more suited to the site and won't be this tall eyesore sticking up in front of that red house across the road.
Are you gonna need septic approval from
No.
DOH?
We don't need septic approval, we don't need a drilled well, we just need site plan approval, so we.
Questions from the?
I'm sorry, I didn't see the letter from the engineer in our packet to. Yeah, that.
Engineer letter, there's an engineer letter, it's short and sweet, it says, here you go, short and sweet.
You actually have a building permit, but it's for the footprint of the other home. So we moved to meet setbacks, we moved the home further off the road. Gave 30 foot, which is meet setback. And to make things better, and the little it's the water rate drains from a pond across the property and up the hill. We moved 100 foot from that to meet setbacks.
So the house you so on the lot line map, the old house is pictured there. So a portion of the new house is going to
It overlays.
overlays.
Some of them.
Yeah, and then goes up the road, yeah, to the higher ground.
Mhm.
All right, so here's what I want to do with this, as you all think of questions or. Dave, I want you to do a write-up on this one. And I want to refer it to Greg, Holner, our engineer.
Now. Rick, at the. I don't want to be rude, but I would submit this. We have actually had this engineered specifically for the site. By a certified for New York State engineer. And to have to pay to have your engineer review our engineer, who ultimately holds some liability on it. It's not going to be inexpensive.
We could give you the full set of plans, it's quite extensive. But we had that done before when we were planning to come here, that was part of the thing we said, generally, before we started this. Was we wanted to have it engineered before we even planned anything, but we just needed a direction, because we did have approval, to do this. And then it changed, then everything changed, because people change, and so we do have a full set of plans.
So our engineer wouldn't be doing a structural assessment of building, they'd be doing a civil engineering assessment of the site, basically, correct?
Yeah, that's what I was, yeah.
Our people are the ones that will actually be putting the frame on it and structure.
Who are your engineers? Pioneer in.
For the building, that's for the building.
The whole company.
So is the board okay with not having our engineer review it? We use the stamp of the existing engineer?
Because ultimately the liability rides upon us and that engineer.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Well, you're talking about the engineer for for the construction of the building, right?
Yes.
We're talking about an engineer that would review, a civil engineer that would review it on our behalf for the site plan. And I mean, I don't know, I have a little bit of concern about the septic. I don't know if it's good.
My opinion is that the only reason we're looking at this is because the footprint is changing.
Yes.
If the footprint wasn't changing, we wouldn't be looking at it.
Yeah.
Well, you have
So I'm
25.
not according to the statute that's in there, that's in your packet. That is the only reason that this has to come before you, is because we are changing the physical layout, and we are allowed to do that, but we have to receive approval for it according to.
I think because of the zoning inspector, because it's a non-conforming.
Correct. That's why we were sent here.
You can use the footprint plus 25%.
Mhm.
So you're exceeding
If-
20, so you're exceeding 25%.
25%. And that's
So
why
it's a
we're here.
special,
It's a
I
special.
read it's a
use.
special use permit.
And that's what we thought it
If they
was
exceed the
too.
25% of a non-conforming structure. You can rebuild or replace an existing non-conforming structure on the footprint plus 25% by just getting a building.
Mhm.
All right, so my sense, since it's a replacement, is to skip the engineering. But I want Dave to do a write-up, so at least we're all on the same page in terms of what are we looking at and what else do we have to look at? We still have to do seeker.
And it's a special use permit, you have to.
Yep.
It's not, it's unlisted, I assume, Dave.
Yeah, I presume.
Can't be a big one.
So then within
And
500 feet or something, we might have to send it to the county.
If they send it to the county?
It's a special use permit. So with 500 feet of certain features,
The features being,
I got a location map.
How does it become a special use?
It's
permit?
that the lots are listed with Ulster County as residential building.
No, I'm just saying, we're talking about Ulster County Planning Board.
Oh.
They just have an opportunity to they have 30 days to comment.
Oh, yeah.
you know what, Dave, let's do the write-up. You'll suss all of that out, who it has to go to, and also make a recommendation on, seeker typing. All right,
Right.
so what I think we'll
So the
do,
hearing would be a time thing.
so say it again?
You'll have to do a hearing.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
That'll be that's getting you to another month, right? No matter what.
Well, so when would we have them back on the agenda, the 28th, or wait until the first week, the first
Like,
meeting of
it's pretty
August?
simple.
No, let's,
I could
we don't wanna do this again until next month. We can only take one late night a month.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
And we're actually.
It's an early night. Very early night.
Okay, so we'll see you in August, not until. So you have.
I'll review it in time for your August meeting.
Wait, can I only want one like night a month? So-
Say it louder.
And she has to drive.
So we won't, thank you, Cindy, and Joanne. So we won't see you again until whenever the August meeting is. Dave, you do your shtick, so that we know what we have to require. I am gonna ask for, and I'll leave a vote for $500 escrow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I recommend a $500 escrow.
Motion.
Dave,
I second.
Peter made the motion.
I second.
Alina second. All in favor of $500 escrow?
Aye.
Okay, so Cindy, this was a great, looks great. But we won't see you until August.
That's perfect though, but we also need to remember that and I know that I have to have the things added to the map. But we need to do the combining the two parcels into one as well, because the whole thing's gotta have that new line.
We'll do everything in one meeting,
Okay.
okay? We don't need a public hearing for the lot line.
Rick, they may want to seek waivers for some of the map stuff, soils, etc.
Why don't you put that in your write-up,
Okay,
okay? Recommend waivers.
no, we're talking.
I mean, this is,
Yeah,
this is a
I
better,
know those special
better use
soils
of the
that
front.
keep garden dirt
So-
on there.
There'll likely be a recommendation to ask for a waiver for some of the stuff to be mapped, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, put it on there, please, Dave.
The only property we own that actually grows grass.
Yeah.
everything else grows what, rocks?
Yeah.
And dog poop.
We don't own a mower and I had to mow it 3 times this year. And it's beautiful, it's a problem. I eat my lunch down there, there are benches down by the creek, but. It's hard to get in the water because they drop low, so the creek is so much lower than the property. It looks like it's there, but it's not.
So, and I think the other thing is,
Yeah.
this is the Rochester Creek, isn't it now called the Mumbacas?
Yeah.
Still make us rename it.
Oh, come on, give us the right name.
Yes.
It's now the
Bill.
it's now the Mumbacas.
He actually had it down.
Okay, I think that's it.
Huh? Yes.
2 minutes, or do you want?
I think that's it then.
Okay.
Good. Dave, you're good?
Yeah.
Everybody good? Peter? You got anything else?
No. The stream that's on there, Cindy, is the intermittent stream, it's not a named stream, right?
Right, it's runoff from a pond that's
Okay.
up above, up near Arrowwood or whatever it's called.
Isn't it the Rochester?
What's it, do you know what that pond's called,
No,
Lauren?
there's an intermittent stream on the
The
side.
pond that's up top of the hill there behind the red house?
Go to.
No,
Is it Rochester? I'm not gonna comment on that, both of the Lakers.
It's the Mumbacas.
No. He had it also down in Marble now, and we're changed that.
Fix that.
Alyssa cause. And yeah.
So get Bill Akers to fix it all up.
yeah, we'll do it.
We're all getting.
Okay, anything else that the board wants to talk about? Let's go home.
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion.
We don't-
I second the motion.
Minutes?
No, that's for the next meeting.
Who first?
If, early, we'll do it the next
I
week.
made the, even second.
Thank you, Jen.
All in favor?
Cause I have to.
Quarter to
back
10.
at quarter to 10 bus.
Good night.
See you with the rest of your.
Yeah, it looked better.
Okay. Just saying.
Yeah.